can't even hear me. Okay, there we go. You guys can't even hear me. So what I was talking about, this is a rare occurrence that I am streaming politics. This is a rare occurrence that I'm streaming politics because this is a serious issue. Right now, downtown LA is under attack by what I classify as domestic terrorists. Okay? Because they're legally not allowed to be in this country right now. And they're coming into our country and they're destroying our infrastructure, our law enforcement officers, they're harming them. And I'm about to show you guys live feed of this right now. I'm telling it to you real. I'm telling it to you real. So, man, here we go. Get ready for the drama, y'all. Let's just hope the National Guard gets there tonight. Let's just hope they get there tonight. All right. Let's see what we got here. Hold on, I'm reacting to this live here. Come on.
Leave, that they could be arrested for that. And I heard earlier in some other channels, maybe it was yours, about the issue of people wearing
Let me
masks.
make sure y'all can hear me and that the stream is good.
But it's illegal to wear a mask after you've committed a different crime, and that being the failure to...
Come on, what the...
And or personnel. And they're
No,
monitoring...
that was earlier. What the... Go back. I need it live.
That's in your bag of tricks, as it were, when you're dealing with people who are being unruly or causing...
Let's see if
potentially causing
the
harm to
stream's
officers,
good.
throwing things at you, for example.
So yeah, they're throwing things
Once that's happened...
at people.
Yes, that's true.
And this is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen.
Believe me, the officers would rather be doing the regular patrol and having their Starbucks somewhere. But
Let's just make sure
when
this...
we come together, we'd rather have people leave and go away. But they don't. And so you have to make the choice of either we disappear and then they destroy the city and destroy property.
Alright, I'm going to remove this second feed here. Let me go here. Because we're getting some latency here.
Where were the police? Where was the sheriff? So when we are there trying to keep the peace. It can be a focal point by people who are
Alright, can you guys...
determined to create a confrontation. The police officer is not there to try to create a confrontation. The people want it, but they always, in my experience,
How much should good car insurance cost?
Bruh!
$80? $120?
Bruh!
Nope.
You don't need no
Try
ads
$38
right now.
So,
This is
go into
serious.
areas where the protests are happening because they want to get involved. They want to see. They want to get a little clip on their smartphone to put
Just
it on
making sure there's no
Instagram or
latency.
something. And they create a problem also by showing up in an area that's clearly got some police activity going on there, and that makes it difficult for the officers. So it's tough. You end up putting up with a lot of abuse, verbally, a lot of things thrown at you from different directions. I do know that...
Alright, there's no latency on the camera. There's no
different
latency.
agencies use. Some officers, their protocols...
Alright, so we got some regular traffic going on the freeway.
Really close to them.
But pretty much the whole of downtown LA, pretty much, is under siege right now by what I call domestic terrorists. This is unacceptable. Okay, so we got some police officers defending Crypto Arena, where the Lakers play.
They were not peaceful.
That's where the Lakers play, protecting the property there.
Fireworks. Those things will fly faster and farther than a lot of our less lethal projectiles, and they are explosive devices.
Oh yeah.
We've had some uniforms that burned. We've had ears where people had hearing issues afterwards, had to get medical treatment for it.
So basically, those fireworks also act as concussive blasts. So your hearing, your eyes, you never know when you're firing these at police officers. Look at all them people down there. Not every single one of them is doing something bad. Like some of them are just peaceful protesting. But most of the violence is coming from the people who are throwing stuff at cops, launching fireworks.
Right, okay.
I just hope they don't lead to actual dangerous violence, like shooting guns and
What
stuff.
we're looking at here is right near Crypto.com
Yeah, that's
Arena.
Crypto Arena where the Lakers play.
We got word that a crowd was gathering there. We don't know if these are people who are being peaceful or if they're just watching and seeing what's going on.
I hope these are peaceful protesters.
Or if there is something
Practicing their
else to
First
this.
Amendment
We're not
rights.
seeing any sort of violent activity going on right now. You see people walking with flags.
Yep.
You see people walking down the street. I did see one thing being thrown, but it didn't appear to be targeting anybody. And so we're going to keep an eye on this situation. We began our as we look at this. We began our 8 o'clock hour with a news conference by the chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, Jim McDonnell. Here's a recap of what he had to say.
LAPD was not given advance notice that the federal operations would occur in that area. As a result, we were not pre-positioned to respond immediately to unrest related to those actions. Once the call for assistance came in, LAPD responded within 38 minutes. And that sounds like a long time, but I'll tell you why that is. The response was impacted by traffic, crowd density in the area with unrest occurring, hazardous conditions caused by tear gas that was previously deployed by federal agents at that location. Many of our officers.
My question is, where's your SWAT teams? Where's your SWAT teams? You guys have regular police officers out there with regular civil unrest gear. Where's your SWAT teams? If I was in charge of this, I'm gonna be like, no, we're going through this, and we're gonna stop this. We're gonna stop this, not just sit there and lay back. That's basically what they're doing right now. If I was in charge of this operation, this would not be happening.
In our community who have high levels of anxiety about this issue,
We wouldn't harm anybody.
We want everybody to believe and be able to call the LAPD in time of need if they've been a victim of a crime or a witness to a crime. We need that. Otherwise, the system does not work. That has been our policy and remains our policy, and it went into effect in 1979. So 46 years ago, that's been the way we do business. On the other hand, however, when a law enforcement agency, any agency, requests emergency assistance to protect lives, we are obligated to respond, and we do. Public safety is our duty, and we will answer every legitimate call for help from anyone. We recognize that immigration enforcement operations can cause a deep fear and anxiety, particularly in immigrant communities. That's why we're committed to transparency, accountability, and treating every
What they got
Angelino
going
with
down?
respect, regardless of their immigration status.
All right, so we got
Our
some
job is
cars
not to
passing
provide
Crypto
communities
Arena,
with politicized law enforcement.
and then that
Our
crowd
job
also
is
passing
simply to
Crypto
keep
Arena.
everyone safe.
It is an environment, though, in which law enforcement has, to some extent, been politicized. We have the Department of Justice
Oh, yeah.
and the
They're
people
definitely
from
being
Homeland Security
politicized.
saying that the local agencies are not doing their jobs.
Jobs.
They accuse the LA Police Department of not responding to a call for help from the ICE agents.
Hold
and
on,
other
what's
federal
going on
agents who are
over there?
involved in what they're calling an immigration
Okay,
enforcement
is that the
action,
police over there by
in,
Crypto Arena?
In one part of the city. The chief emphatically saying that did not happen, that it took some time for officers to respond because they hadn't gotten advance notice that this would be happening. And the officers, in order to respond to that, need to be especially equipped and formed.
Okay, so we
into,
just got bikers
action teams to
going
do that,
around.
and that takes some time.
So far,
the
this is
reports
pretty
have been, or the
peaceful.
information that
So far,
had been put
over
out
here
is that
at
it took 2
Crypto
hours
Arena.
for LAPD to respond. That was
So far, it's
not
pretty
the case.
peaceful. They're just
The
walking.
chief saying it took 38 minutes from the time the call went out to the time officers got there, and they were delayed in part because tear gas had been deployed, and that
So far,
the
it's looking
officers were
peaceful.
not prepared
Like, they
to
just walking
deal
down
with tear gas
Crypto
because they had
Arena.
not been given advance notice. Still, they went in and assisted the federal agents in protecting them and keeping them separate from the crowd that was beginning to gather. Governor Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, posting on X tonight, and I'm quoting here, "Let's get this straight. 1, local law enforcement didn't need help. 2, Trump sent troops anyway to manufacture chaos and
Oh,
violence.
wow.
3, succeeded."
Woo. All right, Mr. Gavin. Wow. Law enforcement didn't need help. Let's talk about that statement there. Law enforcement didn't need help? Really? They struggling out there right now. They barely holding on. Trump sent troops anyway to manufacture chaos and violence. Nah. Duh. I mean, not duh, but to prevent the chaos and the violence. Because the police ain't doing nothing. They just sitting there. They just sitting there, like they doing something.
You know, we're here to keep the peace on the streets of LA, and he used the word insurrection to describe the people who are committing some acts of violence and setting fires. He's
Domestic
saying they're
terrorism.
insurrectionists, and that is, as we have been pointing out tonight, not a randomly chosen word. That is an important word.
They're destroying
because
government property.
The auspices under which the president can perhaps...
By government property, I
invoke the
specifically mean
Insurrection
government-owned
Act of
vehicles,
1807,
FBI
would
vehicles.
require that an insurrection be undertaken against
Insurrection
the United
Act,
States
okay.
and against its government, so that the president could then deploy troops.
He'd have
to put down
higher
that
authority
insurrection. And
if he did the
hence,
Insurrection Act
the
of
threat
1812.
From
Was it
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that Marines from Camp Pendleton could be deployed to the streets of Los Angeles. Marines,
Get
US
my Marines up in there.
Deployed against or to contain U.S. citizens and be
They ain't gonna
involved
play
in,
if they send the
enforcement
Marines.
action against,
Yeah, it's an
American
1807
citizens.
Insurrection Act.
LA Mayor Karen Bass speaking earlier today about the history and the challenges of dealing with large crowds in this city.
Because our city has always had a very robust immigrant rights movement and infrastructure and institutions that have been around for several
Why hasn't he
decades,
did the Insurrection
there is
Act?
a
That's
history
what
of
that's
having
for.
Peaceful protests here. Now you know, like
need to
any
shut down
crowd,
LA
we're talking
streets
about after an
and get some
athletic
order.
event, everybody celebrates. There's always a handful of people
Who's
that
this?
tend to be at the end.
Oh, this
that
the
tend to
one
hang
that
around
supports
and
it,
might get
okay.
into mischief and violence.
This the
But
one that
that's
supports
not
it.
the people who are putting on the protests. I tell you that to say that when those
This the
protests
one that
have
supports
been,
it. This the mayor that
organized,
supports
they've
it.
been
This the mayor
organized
that
in
hired that
proper
police
ways.
chief.
The problem is what happens at the end, and that's one thing that is difficult.
She's allowing this to happen. You're the mayor of this city, and you're allowing this to happen.
That is the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, who we'll be speaking to on ABC 7 in just a matter of a few minutes. In the meantime, we're going to take a look and continue to take a look at what is going on downtown right now.
Okay, so they're
at,
just driving bikes.
Outside Crypto.com Arena and LA Live. This is South Figueroa at Olympic. Worth noting, the crowd that we are seeing are
Peaceful.
people walking down the middle of the street. We are not seeing
Any
acts
violence.
of violence. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's not happening. We haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing any fires being set. What we are seeing are people waving flags of various flags, Mexican flags, American flags, Palestinian flags, and from flags of various countries that they are carrying. But what we're not seeing is any sorts of acts
Fires.
of violence or unrest.
Yeah.
This is right near Crypto.com Arena. That's it on the
It
left.
could
LA
start
Live.
up though. It could.
Part of that
What time is it?
complex.
It's 9:59.
And, we
It
don't
could
know
start
if
up.
law
You know, you
enforcement
never know.
Officers are being deployed there. This is in downtown Los Angeles, as you can see, the gleaming structures, these skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles, amid what has been a pretty difficult day in
Oh,
the
yeah.
city in terms of the things that we have seen and the things that we are having to.
All right, so
witness
the
and deal
helicopter
with
here is
once
going,
again in the city of Los
to the
Angeles,
north
raised
section,
by, ICE,
headed towards
the
Beverly
Immigration
Hills
Customs Enforcement
to give
Agency,
you guys
targeting
a better view of the other side here
correct
of this
authorization
unrest
to be in the
near the
United
freeways
States.
over here.
They are saying that they are going after criminals and people who prey on others. Demonstrators in this crowd today and elsewhere and at other times are saying that in fact the government is going after day laborers and people on their way to work, on their way to school. In fact, going after people who are in the federal building itself, in the system, at the agency, trying to get their situation straight, and they're ended up being arrested during that process while they're actually preparing for an immigration hearing. So there's a lot of emotion surrounding this, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of fear in the immigrant community in Los Angeles. What we're seeing now, it looks like a contingent of officers, the agency,
Nice.
I'm not sure yet, I'm guessing, I'm betting it's LAPD.
It's LAPD.
and
Those
they
are
heading-
LAPD cars.
Right now, this is Temple and Alameda. We don't know if they're relieving other officers or if they're heading toward Crypto.com or what. But
By the way,
there's a-
hold on. keep this going.
Why tactical alert? No, whatever else is happening within the city. There are other things happening. Homes are being broken into. People are still being robbed. All kinds of disturbances are happening that have nothing to do.
So yeah, right now a citywide tactical alert's going on. That means every single police officer, law enforcement officer in the Los Angeles area, assigned to the Los Angeles district, is downtown.
Brought to bear. We don't know what the target is.
It is rare. It's
this
pretty
skirmish line, but
rare
we're going to try to find out.
to call it
In the meantime, I
citywide
wanna show you
tactical,
this
but
video
they
from
needed
earlier
it.
that has become pretty much iconic and has gone viral. And that is this. This was downtown. This was earlier in the afternoon.
All right, we don't need to see this old
towards
footage
the
here.
evening, when the demonstration near the federal building complex began to turn violent, in which people
don't
were
need to see
setting
old news
Waymo
here.
cars on fire. These
Come on
cars were
now.
parked on the street.
What else we got here?
And just sitting there. And someone set
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself,
Because I don't want to
of
see
course I'm
old
gonna say
news.
that's
We
it.
need to see what's going on right now.
that are moving through
Okay,
John's
there we
shot right there. It's just, there's so much law enforcement around here, and no matter how many there are, they're still stretched thin with the geographical
Oh, yeah.
area that they were trying to cover. Here's that gas station where Lori was earlier, where it looks like that group is still there.
But the difference being, in case someone's just seeing this for the first time, that earlier when they first were congregating around the Chevron, the lights were on, things were happening, and then it looks like power was, and the lights were shut down. There's the two trash fires that were still, I guess they're still going on. I mean, they've been going on, what, for at least a while now. And
I
that
wasn't
crowd really
notified
hasn't
about
moved
those
too
trash
much
fires.
from that Chevron station, but they've sort of parked there and waited.
And it doesn't look like, I mean, there's no law enforcement in this area, at least for the moment that I can tell. You know, I know we were concerned a little bit earlier about them getting into that Chevron. You know, the Chevron, as you pointed out, the Chevron lights were on, and then they very quickly were not. You know, once that crowd started to kind of gather around them. So, but for the moment, it looks like they're just kind of hanging out in there.
Yeah, and it looks like it's hard to make out just 'cause it's so dark, but most people are on the sidewalk, right? They're not even congregated at the gas station necessarily. And I'm sure the gas station has now closed its doors.
Ooh.
They're trying to throw things off guard.
Ooh!
Yep.
Yeah, kind of 3 to just 4 now passing
This is some
the,
easy E stuff.
the screen there, and yeah, and another one. I mean, it's just every opportunity they're just
Throwing things at the LAPD.
They destroying,
vehicles that
they
make their way
attempting to
through.
destroy government property.
And LAPD trying to move through there pretty quick.
And there's that innocent driver there sitting in the middle of it all.
yeah. Another one just did a quick U-turn.
Hey, if you
in
guys
middle
are
of
in the
road
LA
just to turn around and get away
area,
from there.
downtown LA area, try to go around downtown right now. Because you got some crazy folks out there and they don't
Just
care.
a chaotic situation all over the place, all over downtown.
What's going on here?
LAPD a while ago declaring that unlawful assembly for the entirety of downtown LA. Though
Would they get some
obviously,
snacks from there?
You know, that doesn't mean much to these people. It does give the LAPD the authority to arrest them.
Got somebody
should
with
they
a
need
strobe
to,
light there.
Or have
Trying
the
to
ability
blind the
to.
helicopters
Really,
like that's
kind
gonna
of
do something.
more a little bit what's going on here is LAPD and its officers, not only from the LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, CHP has been down there as well,
Okay.
just trying to coordinate
Highway
how
Patrol.
to do all of this and how to get and be in all of these different places at once has been certainly a challenge for those law enforcement officers.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, that was sort of a picture of what really
what's
everyone
going on
that we've
over
been
there?
talking to has highlighted as what is.
Okay, so we
obviously
got
not okay
police
and not
officers
endorsed
in
any shape,
tactical
form, or
gear,
fashion. That's
a
just
riot
one
gear.
sliver of obviously a lot that we've seen all day, but you know when you have LAPD just driving through and trying to get to another situation, then seeing items being thrown,
What's
then
going on
no
over
one's
there?
gonna support that in any shape, form, or fashion.
We want to get to Lauren Posen. Lauren, what's the situation where you're at? We know
They playing
that
Mexican
there has been
music.
a fire there for some time. LAPD motor still staged near you. We're hearing some pretty loud music, but mention speed cars driving by.
That's right, Leslie. Yeah, it's a low rider. You're going to see it probably shortly here. He's got a
Rocket,
Dodger
rocket!
flag out.
Somebody just fired
There
a
he goes in
rocket.
the red and the red Cadillac
Someone
there.
just fired. Oh!
The fire appears to be
Oh!
out, which is a good thing.
Someone just fired a
Fireworks
rocket.
are still going off. We've kind of had a little bit of a break, but
Oh.
hold your breath. I'm sure it's going to happen.
All right, so we got
shortly
police
here
snipers
again.
on the roof.
They keep throwing them out in the road.
But
The
there
PD,
was just
they
a
have,
rocket
the
launch.
motorcycle units blocking off Main here, Main and.
There was just a rocket launch. All right, so we got a police advance going towards
right by
that.
City Hall.
that gas
they've got
station there.
blocked off, and then they also have it blocked off Temple, and also down by Main and Temple over there as well. So they have this section kind of blocked off here. They're not allowing traffic to go through. People on foot have been able to go through. But there hasn't been that many people because, as we've heard, this has been declared unlawful assembly. So
It is.
Hopefully, we're seeing people kind of listen to that, at least in this little section here, except for the block up where you see people waving the flags, and there's still a group of people. They look to be in the road right now.
They just fired a rocket.
I don't know if they're going to be blocking traffic because the light's red, but we'll see what happens here. Or they could just be crossing.
All right, so
But,
right now they're advancing towards.
See?
What just happened?
Like I said, I
right,
wasn't
right now
gonna
they're
hold my breath
advancing
that we were
towards
not
the
gonna see
gas
more
station.
fireworks tonight, and they keep getting bigger and bigger too. Now I am seeing, looking at the headquarters here.
By the way,
I'm
those
seeing
are
a group
illegal
of law
fireworks. Why are they
enforcement, walking. I don't know where they're going, but they're walking out.
All right,
And
they running
again,
towards.
in terms of the graffiti downtown, it is all over.
They
And
try to
that,
get
the
inside that building.
headquarters
Oh!
were tagged right in front of these officers here.
They hopping the
Even though
fences
there
and
are
stuff.
barricades out, they were still able to tag the
They
sign
stealing
instead.
cars. Look at
And
them.
we have people, I don't know if you can see your spectators too, just taking video, taking pictures as all this is happening as well too.
Yeah, it looks
They
like
stealing
some of
cars?
the
Look at 'em.
Are staging right along that barricade that they've placed in front of headquarters there.
What are
But,
they
you can see
doing?
It looks like this group on our right side that KCAL has been, or SkyCal has been monitoring.
You see my eyes, bro?
Gas station and trash fire.
Are they running from law enforcement?
I can't tell, John. Were you able to tell what they kind of took
So,
off from?
law enforcement's moving towards the
Oh,
gas
you
station.
just
That's
put
where
it
they
right
were.
there? Oh yeah, there's an officer.
Okay,
line
okay.
moving through there.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Nice,
You have the
nice.
mountain unit back out.
Nice,
And,
nice.
you see
Nice
the
tactical
officers
presence there.
One has a bullhorn, and you can imagine they're probably
Yeah.
giving those dispersal orders, saying, "Hey, you got to get out
Disperse
of
the
this
area,
We
yes,
are going to
see?
start making arrests if you do not."
That's what's up. Look
and
at
many
that.
of those people now just taking off running in the other direction.
Yeah, there you go.
There's
the
still what
dumps-
fireworks?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some
Yeah,
smoke.
over there. The dumpster fires over there.
Dumpster fires.
And you're right. A number of law enforcement surrounding.
This entire area here,
So
yeah.
then we play this game of where they're going to move to,
Yeah.
what's the next thing they're going to go do. Now, the only hope is that every time these groups move, they'll start to splinter.
Yeah.
And they get smaller and smaller.
People.
I don't care about this rip-off game.
With a state-of-the-art
Ladies and gentlemen, this is crazy. A rocket just got fired. They throwing smoke at people.
Not CHP, excuse me, law enforcement, LAPD.
right, law
most
enforcement's in
likely
full
to stage
tack gear.
along Cesar
Full
Chavez,
riot gear.
Taking over where that Chevron is.
Nobody
and we saw all
does
those people
not have
standing
riot
moments
gear.
ago. Let's go to
Every
Roy
single police
Farah's
officer down
story.
there is equipped with riot
Yeah, that's
gear.
absolutely right. I mean, that was a really welcome sight for us when all of these officers came in and really took over this intersection, pushed back a lot of those people who had started to congregate.
Oh!
You can see that they have not been able to get a hold of the group that continues to put off those fireworks. But
I
they
can
have
tell
cleared
these officers
much
are
of this
scared.
intersection of the crowd
Send in
that
the
had
freaking
gathered here,
Marines,
which
bro.
is really
They'll get the
helping to
job done.
alleviate things here,
They ain't gonna
which
mess
is really
around.
got traffic
Send in the
moving.
Marines.
But they are still facing some aggression. You might have just heard that someone just threw.
Oh!
There's a firework, but someone just threw some rocks or concrete or something at an LAPD car and it smashed a window.
You can
see
tell I'm
LAPD
scared,
lining
fool.
up. They are advancing across the street. They do want to keep this crowd moving, and as Mike was saying, hopefully dissipate the crowd. We don't
Okay,
wanna
so
get
they're
into this game
utilizing
where
their
you just keep
resources.
pushing them
That's
and then
good.
They move somewhere else. You have to push them.
They're
They
communicating
really
with the
wanna
police
try and
helicopters.
disperse now that that dispersal order is in effect. They want these people to get out of here, to get out of
All right,
LA,
so
to
they're
go
writing
home,
graffiti.
and to relieve the tension that has been on the streets for so many hours now. But it's difficult to tell where those fireworks are coming from, but they do continue to go off despite the police presence on this corner at this point. but they do seem to be getting a handle on it, which is good news. So we're going to continue to monitor this situation and hope that, now that the dumpster fire seems to be under control, now that the crowd seems to be gone, that perhaps there will be some peace and calm restored, at least on this corner. Guys, back to you.
Lori, thank you. And yeah, one of the things here too, Mike, and we've drawn attention to this over the course of the afternoon and evening, is that you're not seeing a lot of direct, really face-to-face confrontation with law enforcement.
They're not going to be doing that. They're just trying to secure streets. They're trying to lock down streets.
Inevitable earlier in the afternoon when there were so many people, and they law enforcement basically just had to establish those lines and then slowly push their way, for example, on the 101 and get them off the freeway and then back over onto the on-ramp. But now it just seems like they're kind of letting it play out a little bit before then making a very targeted move and effort here, like we saw.
Somebody just got injured.
Everybody else, and then
somebody just got injured.
Squad of vehicles in the background as well, and it seems to have worked rather efficiently, at least in this case, to get everybody out as intended.
Yeah, and push them through, and it is a different type of situation. We are certainly seeing skirmish lines eventually.
I do want to get, is there like a police scanner for LA?
Where they are so face-to-face with everybody. This is more of a situation where the people get kind of worked up for a little while, they do what they do, they set something on fire, whatever, and then LAPD comes in, and almost as soon as they see that large number of LAPD, then they're done. They want to move, they want to go somewhere else and do that. Now, I did just get a message from a law enforcement source. Certainly we are seeing fireworks that is coming from the crowd, but I'm being told by a source that a lot of the bangs that we're hearing are actually coming from law enforcement that are throwing some of those things, which would explain why we see that crowd so suddenly scattered. I mean, they whether or not it's tear gas or just flashbangs or we saw CHP.
That ain't no
it's enough to get
CHP.
that crowd kind of jolted.
Let's go back.
Move and get out of there.
That is not no CHP.
So, now we'll have to kind of look around, and I can ask John to do that for us and kind of figure out where our largest group of people are. I mean, I know there was still kind of a group of people over at LA Live, though the CHP helicopter that was helping out with that looks like they've left that area. So I don't know if those guys splintered off as well. John's looking around for the other group, but that was kind of our last, aside from LA Live, that was kind of our last real organized group, and they seem to have really splintered after that.
Yeah, and that is a welcome sight for law enforcement, who really is just working to get these people out, get them home off of the streets, as they have declared an unlawful assembly and a dispersal order for all of downtown Los Angeles. Now, people that are watching this nationally,
I got CHP and sheriff on here.
Tuning in. They may be wondering, okay, where is the National Guard? We were talking so much about the president bringing in 2,000 National Guardswomen, and we are not seeing them. And that is because we have been told by the mayor, by other officials, by LAPD police chief, that the Guard's mission right now is only to protect federal building, federal land.
For sure.
And that is because the Guard has been federalized, which means that they are not being essentially told what to do by the local government here. And at this point, we have not seen them.
We got some explosions over there.
So we have seen LAPD, CHP, sheriffs, but the National Guard has stayed put at the Federal Detention Center, and we have not seen any.
We finally got SWAT out here.
Besides this morning. Mike, I want to get to you.
Yeah, I just want, John, zoom in tight on that line of sheriff's deputies, and I think we're going to see where a majority of these bangs are coming from. So watch, and I believe it's going to be one of the ones that's underneath the traffic signal there, and you'll see them here in a second. It looks like
there's someone detained there in that area
there on the left. But then at the top of the screen, I just a couple seconds ago saw them throw one of those, what I believe to be a flashbang, towards the crowd. So we'll see if they do it again. But when we hear those pops, a lot of them, it looks like, are now starting to come from law enforcement. Certainly, the crowd is shooting off fireworks. The law enforcement is now starting to use these flashbangs to get the crowd to disperse. And I just saw one of the deputies throw it. It looks like that was effective, so I'm not seeing him throw any more. But now we can look at this person being detained here.
Yeah, I want to add one more quick comment back to wrap Leslie's point on the National Guardsmen, because there was a deployment of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 2,000 but there's only 300.
Yeah.
You know, here on the
We suspect
ground,
about 300.
About 300. So.
As of this morning.
We're having some activity happen out here.
And it sounds like Lauren might be keeping an eye on certain things down there. Let's get to her right now. Lauren, we heard you say there that something might be happening. What's going on?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's some activity here. Some patrol cars have pulled up. They have their sirens on. And you can see people are still lighting off fireworks. Let's see here where they're going to go. Okay, well, as I'm looking in the distance here, I see there's still a handful of people at that building right across from the police station. And I've been hearing that they possibly have been trying to set that building on fire. And that's why they're all congregated over there, and that's something that law enforcement is watching very closely. And I'm also been observing here that it looks like we have a chopper right above us too. It's not a news chopper, it's a PD chopper. I don't think it's the Black Hawk we saw earlier today. But you know, we got this marine layer, it's hard to see exactly. That the Sheriff's Department has formed a skirmish line right behind City Hall here, and they were making advances on that crowd that had that trash can fire. And then would move back as well, and they did, you know, as Mike said, deploy that tear gas that we caught a whiff of. But, you know, we have a lot of helicopters above us now. It's getting really noisy. Looks like they may have their eye on something or someone, that being police, but it's hard to say right now. Because it's really, you know, got a lot of things going on. We got traffic moving, we have the police in front of us here. And then, of course, we have that, it looks to me like somewhat of a large group in front of that building there as well, right across the street from where we are. Mike, I'll send, and Leslie and Gio, I'll send it back to you guys. Maybe, Mike, maybe you have some more information as to what's going on. It's hard for me here on the ground with what's going on here to kind of get answers.
Yeah, and we're going to move, John, I'm going to have you go over to kind of Lauren Posen's location, and I believe it's still in the area. Lauren, are you still in the area, Main and Temple, or where are you? Is that First and Spring still?
Yeah, right, I'm at Main and First.
She sound nervous?
Yes, Main and, you know, yeah.
So he's swinging the camera.
Oh, they saying FDT.
That's what that situation is. I think it's going to be right under him, so they may have to adjust a little bit here. But yeah, so we'll check that out here in just a second as he maneuvers SkyCal around. But again, this is back where that original fire was. This is you know, kind of in the area. There's all the motorcycles, and I think John maybe just up the street. One way, yeah, right there on the corner, John, over to your right.
Let's see, maybe this police scanner can give me some information on what's going on.
Trying to address a bit further down, more towards the intersection, John, right there on the corner, yeah.
Right there.
So that's the group they're trying to address. You know, standing around a little bit for the most part. We'll see.
I'm not getting anything so far.
That's the same fire from earlier, rather.
Because I'm kind of interested in what they're.
From Lauren's shot, you are seeing that large group there on Spring and First. On the other side, though, you started seeing a very small group, maybe only about 4 or 5 people. They started placing what looked like barricades in the middle of the roadway. And that is something we've seen law enforcement move pretty quickly to prevent or to at least dismantle, because that is a very dangerous situation as we're watching fireworks go off and law enforcement make their way down First Street. Yeah. You can see it's that small group. It's someone wearing an orange hoodie there.
All right, they just called for additional fire squads.
Barricades. It looks like in the street.
And when John comes around the old LA Times building, it looks like there was some more fireworks getting set off right there as LAPD tries to move through that area, which they do so carefully, or quickly rather, because you know, every time they drive past a group, they get things thrown at them.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now because
somebody about a white shirt.
And we mentioned this earlier about how it's every time one large group seems to be dispersed, another one seems to crop up at a slightly different location or somewhere around the area. Once again, worth repeating that LAPD has declared an unlawful assembly, so they are working to clear the area or at least warn people, hey, we have the right to arrest you if you're still in this area and have not left. So it's really trying to sort of clean up the edges and get people out and go home, or at least go away and remove themselves from this area. But then every few minutes or so, we tend to see another gathering, another group, and then the fireworks go off. Or just when you think, I just saw another flash there we go again on the left side of your screen. You can't let your guard down, and certainly law enforcement is not doing that, but I just mean in the general sense of watching what's going on. Yes, the crowd has thinned out compared to what we saw earlier, and every hour that passes, it almost seems like it keeps getting a little bit smaller, on top of the fact when you start dispersing the crowds, Mike, like you mentioned, they get scattered and perhaps they just start to dissipate, but then again, you see another one start to form, and you have to be wary and be careful because you don't know what's going to happen.
I know we were working to get Mayor Bass here sometime soon, so I want to check in with our producer to see if we are possibly going to hear from the mayor. Okay, we're waiting for her to call into our newsroom, but we are expecting to hear from Mayor Bass here in any moment. But until then, we're continuing to monitor the situation. A lot of activity at Spring and First Street near...
Something's happening, I don't know what, but yeah.
Okay, you can hear Lauren. You can hear Lauren
they called for fire squads. I just heard that.
Just finishing my thought here. A lot of activity at Spring and First Street. That's where she is. Lauren, what are you hearing? I know you're saying there's some sort of activity picking up.
Right, we have a fire truck here. The officers are going to let them go by. And then behind the fire truck, there's 4 patrol cars. And let's see where they're going to go. Hopefully they're going to where that fire was. Now, see, I see there's another fire being started right by that building, and I think Mike said that was the old LA Times, the old LA Times building. It's right in front of there. It's, okay. And also, these fireworks, they're putting them off right as cars drive by. It is so incredibly dangerous. Not only are they doing it in front of patrol cars.
They're using firework launchers.
Okay, that's a trash can that's trying to set on fire in front of the old Times building.
They're using firework launchers.
Unsuccessfully, thankfully, but they are trying.
Right.
Yeah, looks like that.
Right, but you know, these fireworks. Yeah. Yep, go ahead, sorry.
No, it looked like that fire truck was, it stopped moving there. Does it look like they're staged in that location, or are they just stuck? Oh, no, they're gonna keep going.
Okay, they're turning around. Oh, what are they doing? Okay. All right, I think they, you know what it is? They can't get around those cars. That's what the problem was. Those cars didn't move over. And so that's what they're trying to do. So, let me get back over here so I can get a better view here of what's happening. And now, yeah, there's just still a lot of people in front of the old LA Times building. Now, the fire truck is stopped. I see officers on the ground. They're getting out of those patrol cars with the firefighters, and the firefighters are out of their truck. And where are they going? Okay. Really hard for me to see, but I do see a group of people mixed in with the firefighters and mixed in with the PD. Go ahead, Mike.
No, it looks like, I mean, they're talking to that.
All right, they're getting a sit rep on what's going on. That's basically what they're doing right now. They're getting a sit rep. They're trying to see what's going on. They're going to escort them over to where they're launching those fireworks.
Mayor Bass, can you hear us?
I can.
Hi, Mayor. So walk us through kind of where we're at in this situation tonight from what you understand it.
Well, things are slowly but surely calming down. After the protest that was predominantly peaceful several hours ago, a number of people stayed
Some
around
officers
and
just say, have a good night.
Were committing violence, you know, in the form of defacing buildings, throwing bottles, throwing cans, and that's just unacceptable. And they need to understand that when the LAPD declares an unlawful assembly, they need to leave, not scatter around the city creating violence or graffitiing up buildings. This does not help anything. You know, I think about those families that are terrified right now because they don't know where their loved one is. They don't know if their loved one has been taken to another country, another city, and this is not helping anything. This does not promote the integration and acceptance of immigrants. This pits Angelenos against each other, and I just think that it is completely unacceptable and uncalled for.
Mayor Bass, earlier today you tweeted that you met with the governor, the police chief, LAPD, the sheriff,
What is that, City Hall?
as well as other law enforcement partners about how to keep Angelenos safe. What is the answer here tonight? Because as you mentioned, we've been monitoring this situation for hours. We've seen CHP cars get destroyed, officers get pelted with concrete objects. What is the solution?
Well,
They need the military out here.
A protest, and everybody has the right to use their First Amendment ability to speak freely, to protest peacefully. That is the American way. And this is just unacceptable. And in these situations, the vast majority, I would even go so far as to say 95% of the people that attend these protests are attending them peacefully. And that 5% that lingers after is the ones that get involved in trouble, get involved in the vandalism. And that just has to be made very clear. That
All right, we're going to switch to our old news channel here.
I don't really like committing to
ABC
things.
7
I'm
here.
scared. But when Verizon announced that I could lock in a low price for 3 years, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Can you hear me now?
They're stealing sneakers, and they're going to be selling them. And they're being caught on video from various locations on both sides of the street. And
Is that
so
where I
there's
think
a
that
good
is?
chance that their faces will be recognized, and that their little spree of theft will be rewarded with some accountability that will land them in jail. That is what is being promised by the chief, by the mayor, by the sheriff. That people who take advantage, people who are involved in violence, vandalism, theft, will be held accountable. If not tonight,
That is where I think that is. Oh, shoot. You know where that is? That's Hollywood Boulevard, I think. Isn't that Hollywood Boulevard?
The projectiles that were being hurled at the police. If you walk down any urban street, you do not see rocks scattered about.
That's where the Walk of Fame
People get those
is.
rocks because
That's that street where the Walk of Fame, near the Walk of Fame.
Either various parts of the country, or just who are people who are intent on causing harm. They bring hammers and they hammer away at the concrete and chip away their own rocks, and they use those and throw them at the police. They'll bring cinder blocks in backpacks and they break those up and throw those at police. So there are people who do this for the sake of doing it. And as we see now, the LAPD
Careful, you don't know if they're armed.
to this store, and we're going to try to get the name of it and the location. But I remember almost an identical shot a few years ago from Air 7 over this exact location that was being looted. So they are there at 618, thank you, 618 South
Nice
Broadway, where that store,
That's Broadway,
apparently a
okay.
sneaker store, is being looted. And now the LAPD has responded. They are going to go in, they're going to clear the store. Anybody who's inside is going to get arrested, likely. Anybody they catch with items from inside the store is likely possibly going to get arrested as well. And it's interesting, you see somebody there bringing items to the officers, perhaps helping with the cleanup there. So there is that as well. So
Okay.
this whole thing that is happening tonight, chaotic, but officers are responding.
I'm the daughter of two immigrants.
All right now. Nope, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Let's go back. Let's go back. There's no excuses. I don't want to hear no excuses for this violence.
Okay, let's talk about it. We've all ignored red flags before.
I don't want to hear any excuses.
Officials that are in the administration that I have been in contact with.
But I don't also want to hear the
including
mayor
Tom
either.
Homan, as well as the new U.S. Attorney, Bill Espy.
Saley?
Bill Saley, yes.
Yes.
Mayor Bass, Leslie here. We're hearing tonight the California Lieutenant Governor has announced that the state government will file a lawsuit against the federal government for deploying the National Guard. Have you been in contact with the Lieutenant Governor at all?
No, I have not spoken to the Lieutenant Governor today. I met with the Governor for quite a while, but I've not spoken to the Lieutenant Governor.
We're just getting a post from LAPD right now, Mayor Bass. Business owners are now reporting stores being looted in the area of 6th Street and Broadway.
My God.
And that's just another layer. As we've mentioned, only
This is your
small
city,
group
bro.
of people still on the streets of downtown Los Angeles. This is not the larger protesting group we've seen throughout the day. But what is the solution to de-escalation? Are there any talks about bringing in possibly more law enforcement, maybe some other city agencies, mutual aid? I know that the police chief, LAPD police chief, said that they were, quote, overwhelmed.
Well, I would say, but I don't think he meant that they were overwhelmed to the point of needing mutual aid. I know that, you know, our chief has great relations with other departments all through the region, and if mutual aid is needed, I know that he wouldn't hesitate to call on it. But in my conversations with him, he did not indicate that they were overwhelmed and they couldn't manage the situation at all.
Mayor Karen Bass live with us tonight. Mayor, thank you so much for your time this evening. We certainly appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
We want to get to Mike Rogers. Mike, we had spoken about possible looting.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at on the right side of your screen. This is in the area, I believe we said 6th and Broadway. Let me just double check that. But yeah, 6th and Broadway. You see.
All right, this one's a bit more direct. This one's a bit more direct, I believe, on the ground coverage. This is a bit more direct footage here. Who clapping? Ooh! Is that the police doing it? That's the police right there, but why are they doing that?
We're on the spring and Cesar Chavez. They're bringing it back up.
Oh, we got a Mexican on the ground. We got a Mexican on the ground. Let's go.
The other night said if I was you, I'd start running. Because these guys are going to start something or do something. I don't know where the fireworks are coming from. I don't think they're coming from across the street. I don't think they're coming from across the street because I think if they would have seen them throw it, they would have let off a bunch of rounds. It might be from the passing cars.
We got some underground footage here. They about to arrest them. I'm playing. They about to. So yeah, they in full tier right here. Why that cop so short? Oh! Ooh, this is so juicy. Ooh. They got the baddies out there. It's getting Oh, look at them, look at them. Oh, we get to have some fun.
There's some buildings on Broadway. Broadway is the next street, not this like the next like.
Ooh, ooh, it's getting juicy out here.
It's getting real in the field.
Oh yeah.
I guess the fireworks are coming from up the street that way. Broadway from up the hill, I think. They're definitely not coming from where I am.
They got the woman out there.
They're not coming from this way. And I assume that that weren't coming from across the street.
Hey, they doing that for this dude's safety because you saw how that was, right?
We're gonna sit right here on this bench like Forrest Gump for a little bit. Gonna rest on for a little bit. It's been a long night.
Say hi to the brother. They sending the brothers out there. The brother forgot something. The brother forgot something. They carrying full crews of riot gear. Full crews.
You guys see the cop cars? Right there in that corner, when they came this way, they left the cop cars, they fucked them up. Yeah, just like 20 minutes ago. They shattered one in the front window, the cops had to kick out the window, they were gonna leave, and then they took fireworks.
Why the baddies going that way? Hold on, why the baddies going that way? Do they not know what's going on?
It supercharges remote, hybrid,
Why the baddies going that way? Where did the baddies go? Okay, so they tried to go that way. They trying to be bougie and ratchet and try to go that way. They trying to be ratcheted. They thought they was gonna let them in. Okay, they got the brother there. Oh. They're establishing a perimeter.
I can't remember if it was from a helicopter from one of their radios that they ran into a spot on Broadway. Probably a parking garage on Broadway. Went to that way. Nice shoot up. Thanks everybody for the super chats. You know, I can probably read them now that I'm here. Just stop. We can't go anywhere but stay here, so we're gonna chill here for a minute and see what happens.
They getting diverted to another call there. Probably on Broadway. They getting diverted to another call because they secured this street here. So they getting called to another place. Managing resources. And then the baddies out there trying to be nosy. Look at them. Look at them. They trying to be nosy. They trying to be nosy. Look at her. Trying to be nosy. In his way. Hold on, I want to see what the chat's saying. Somebody said move. Somebody said move.
Damn, there's been a lot too. Oh, goddamn, hey, thank you guys. Jillian, thank you for becoming a member. RS70, thank you for the super chat. RS70UGAC. Danny Finch, thank you for that super chat.
What happened?
Did you hear that? Oh, you guys hearing that from the helicopter? I've never heard the helicopter like talk to me with clown like that, you know?
Oh, that's crazy.
They're pissed.
They had to get called out.
He said, you know that car? I think he said the black car with the black and white license plate. I'm coming to your house at 4 in the morning. It's like I got license plates. I got both license plates. And then he was saying, I see you guys. You see you guys trying to hide? I can see you. How can I do like? Because they got the flare on them.
Oh yeah.
I can see you. How can I do that? You're hiding behind walls, but I can see you. Look at you. He's coming to his house at 4 in the morning.
Wow. This is better than any news channel.
He got their license plate. And make sure you guys slide it all the way to the right. And make sure, because if I buffer, you buffer, sometimes the stream doesn't update to the live part. So make sure you slide that all the way to the right. So make sure you're at the live point of the stream. Also, hit that little gear button and you can change the settings to 1080p. Make sure you're at 1080p.
How he get through there? Who is that?
Resolution. I stream at.
How? Oh, he carrying some flowers. That's
why. I
why.
don't want to lose the connection.
He carrying some flowers, so they let him in. Look at him. He carrying some flowers, so he let him in.
But not tonight because it uses up more bandwidth, and when there's like network congestion, especially in these areas. I'm assuming that the connection's been decent tonight, but don't complain if it buffers a lot or pixelates. I mean, there's just a shitload of people on the network in one spot. Can't do nothing about it. All right, where was I? Danny Finch, thank you for the super chat.
That's about 35 cops.
AM, thank you for the super chat. Sean C, thank you for that super chat. Sorry, man, I'm not going to read the messages, there's too many. But thank you. Joanne, thank you. Carl, Mr. Pilot Flyby, thank you. Christy Harwell, All Gone Wrong, Nick Sandy, The Thought Police, Zachary Joseph Rosenhart, Skywatcher, Dago Lopez, Judge Brett, The Thought Police, Miss Miscellaneous, Christina Wright, Danny Finch, Zachary Joseph Rosehart, IMC McGinnis, Walt W. Witt, Mystery Seeker, Gain Stage, What Traffic, The Thought Police again, Sonny Van Shark, Heather N, Julie B, Roberto, The Dude, Miss Jen X, Phil Lara Giotti.
All right, so he's just gonna be sitting here in one spot. So we're gonna head to another stream.
I rocked it better.
Let's see.
Linda Walling.
Is this dude here?
One of my biggest dreams was to road trip Europe in a van, and I actually attempted it 2 years ago, but I was mentally in a very different.
Oh, he's passing by where that dude is. Literally, the dude's right there. He's right over there. Wow, he's passing where that dude was.
Like you spring and Aliso, can I get 1 or 2 year units to bump north, grab Arcadia up here on the north side of 101, and stop any westbound traffic coming in?
Taylor Street Senator, Sonic Code number in Figueroa, and 3663 is responding to King and Albany. In Hollywood, 4.956 and now 1771 North Crescent Boulevard, Code 2 and 332 I'll be 632. Additionally, the similar technical nature affect any officers not assigned to the protest accepting the vision to go and the watch at the regularly scheduled time.
Over the 101, they're taking lots of bottles and they're taking damage from those people. They're going to use the SRT guys that will hold it down.
That's just to the upper right of where we are.
They get relieved by our MFFs that are going over there. Their SRT is going to come over here and get these guys off the bridge on Hell Street. So that's what I'm working now. I'll let you know, but they probably would appreciate some assistance.
That's just a little bit up and to the right of where we are right now.
Attention units, the citywide tactical mode remains to affect any officers not assigned to the protest. The Central Division can go and watch at the regularly scheduled time.
Thank you, Snickerdoodle. I see that. Thank you.
Really, I need to get for the time being.
Okay. Secretary Code 16 and Albany.
Arctic 7 Dodgers,
Okay.
The app that I use to track the helicopters, it's called ADS-B. It's a free app. You can check that out. It's showing a lot. Also, LAIT 911, that's one of the ones I'm using to find the incidents. And then you can listen to scanner stuff on LA Captain, which is a YouTube channel that's free.
If you're GTA fans, you know exactly where this
A lot of
is.
helicopters up. And this is where they were saying people were throwing stuff off.
I just need that blocked off for cars. Coming westbound Arcadia from straight.
Seemed like a little fire over there. Oh, they're talking about right here.
Attention on accounts for additional code 2 of the 1094.
First street traffic is 141 ambulance traffic, 7th of Yale.
Dude's on a real cruise.
3647, RD 152.
These guys look like undercover cops right here. Don't they? These dudes do not fit in out here. Yeah, look at his little ear thing. They're like, hey, fellow kids, what's crack a lacking? These dudes look like cops. Is he flying a drone?
0522, this is 3652, 1861.
This is wild, ladies and gentlemen. This is wild.
I see for 46, 3600 gas.
Those dudes were 21 Jump Street right there.
Fall at the moment. Fire starting.
Fire starting.
Just south of the stairs.
Yeah, I'm seeing the smoke on the left.
Roger, I got on that.
Oh, and the cops have this blocked off ahead. So that street's completely shut down. Oh, and then to my left is completely shut down. Oh, shoot, we gotta get out of here. The left is shut down and the right shut down.
What's up with homie right there?
Look at all the smoke up on the bridge. So that's what they're talking about. Actually, there's nowhere to go.
Central Watch 2 and Watch 4, units that are not assigned to the protest, are not involved in the protest, and have them check out Watch Center, please.
These are all shut down. There's nowhere to go.
Units Watch 2 and Watch 4 are not assigned to the protest. Check out, respond back to the station, check out what Watch Center.
Whoa. That was just a huge explosion. None of these cars know how to get out because all three areas are blocked off.
What am I hearing? Some crackhead on the street? What am I hearing? A crackhead on the street? Am I hearing a crackhead on the street? Y'all saw that crackhead that walked past. Oh yeah, those are definitely feds.
Hold on, everybody here is stuck. Like everybody behind me and next to me is stuck and they're trying to shut this intersection down. But there's nowhere to exit.
There's no setting where you can block your brake. We're unable to locate by subject vehicle location.
Oh yeah, look at the van over here on the bridge. They just
That's the mobile command center for the LAPD.
Spring and Arcadia, underneath my light. Swan and Spring and Arcadia. Can I get half of you guys to block westbound traffic on Arcadia from Spring? You're blocking the cars. These cars are driving right into the sheriff's over there. Can you cross the street and stop that?
So what they were just talking about is where we were. Where he said the cars are driving right into the sheriff's. There was nowhere else to go. Wow, everything is so tagged up down here.
Right, verify the 459, because now you're showing back it up with the Arson.
Dude was going the wrong way.
Yeah, dude was going the wrong way.
This is the little phone booth thing that burned earlier.
I don't know, 4 o'clock.
And then also, oh, look at the barricade that somebody put up.
It's pretty tight out here. I just wanted to kind of, make you aware.
Yeah, it has been released. We're going to start working to take over that Hill Street Bridge. Copy?
Copy, Hill Street. Yeah, it still looks like a ghost town up there. They mostly ran northbound towards Chavez.
Roger.
Yeah, I'm spring, and she can tell the good riders, and they're all back walking northbound towards you guys. Like 96 was something that.
Working towards Bundy.
Thank you, Jennifer Winkler, for the PayPal. I know I'm missing a lot right now. I'm sorry about that.
Alright, the 1283 told them to the W standing by.
Look at what my wife. My wife's like, hey, there's a free Chick-fil-A.
DW North Brown, suspect 610 South Main Street, Christian 3546 4164.
This is what my wife is concerned about right now.
Suspect there now, Knife and Flower, Christian 3575 4162. Timed out 415 group, Broadway and Arcadia.
She knows the priorities that we have in our family. Free Chick-fil-A.
It's fire to go up there and do it. I mean, next orbit, it seems like they're doing stuff to make it go a little bigger on the staircase. I can't quite see it from the roof.
All Washington, media, Christian 3536 1309. DUI traffic, Avalon and MLK, Christian 3551 1343.
That girl was Jerome.
And put onto the handgun number 2 number the description. Code 3671 1351. All trying to look for a victim, suspect ran off to a victim. Oh, she's in a white Honda, Elon static.
I'll go east and then north 5.
Hold on, one of my friends that's down here is calling me. Give me just 1 second. I think he either has a tip or a warning for me. Give me just 1 second. I'm gonna mute it real fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is wild. There was an explosion right in front of the last dude we were watching, on Cesar something Chavez Road. They barricaded that, but they're gone now. This is crazy. I'm barely trying to stay up, but I gotta keep it up. I gotta keep it up. Yep. So we got some people in black going down that way. He's gonna brief us on what's going on.
A little bit short. There is more looting going on downtown.
Okay.
My friend just told me though that they're blocking everybody out. So we're gonna try to go. I think we're gonna try to sneak in by like Little Tokyo. But what the sheriffs are doing is just kind of blocking all of these main streets to keep everybody out of that City Hall area. So this is North Broadway. To my right, that's shut down. All the overpasses that go over, like the next 3 are all shut down.
Boulevard at El Tejano, code 23685 and 15 to that. Restraining and order violation, 16 Lincoln Boulevard. Battery, domestic violence, restraining and order violation. Suspect still on the location. Additional 3667. Victim already in penalty. 40
I think we're gonna go down a little bit further and then cut over and then back up. Dang, there's so much glass.
This is crazy, y'all.
I'm guessing, but I think that they really want to protect City Hall because that's the picture that they don't want to get out. LAPD headquarters being all bombed out with graffiti, and then the City Hall. It's just gonna look like the city is getting overrun, which it is, but I mean, they need to protect that landmark, I'm guessing.
Tonight. In Michigan, I put this right now, 13741 Sutton Boulevard, code 27369
Thank you, Sherry Rodriguez, for the membership. So this is crossing over the 101. They have all of these ramps blocked off. So you can't get on or off that.
You still got 4 radio cars right here in Spring and Temple, or Spring and Arcadia.
Those were we just passed the guts of a burned up Waymo. So here's the skirmish line that's underneath City Hall. So they won't let you get anywhere near there, and it's the sheriff that's shutting that down. Actually, these look like LAPD.
Those are LAPD.
But the sheriff is definitely down here too. The sheriff is on this next street up here. So as you turn, they just have a bright light on you. Here's the helicopter on the right.
He's crossing the border now, but from Ward and Hill.
The cops just told that guy walking to my left, stop right there. He's the only one out there. Thank you, Heather Thomas. Oh, here are the cops.
Side of Hill now, he's walking westbound on Ord in the middle of the street.
Oh.
Oh, they just shut this street down right here. So that line of cops just shut this spot down too. There's like almost no place to go.
That light is bright. Keep me wet.
Oh, that dude's arrested. That was the entrance to the 101, I think.
It's getting juicy out here, y'all. It's getting juicy. It's mostly just looting now.
And Cat's Karma, thank you for the 5 gifted. I don't know if I mentioned that already. Thank you so much. Let me see if we can get over right here. Oh, there's a big crowd. It looks like they're moving toward the 101.
.37 responding to 1X43.
Oh, there's a big fire on the right.
Still on Alpine West South.
Look at the fire. Oh no, look at all the cops pulling up down here. Oh, that tree is on fire, and then look at all the sheriffs right here. That's gonna be a big deal, that thing we just passed. So the fire, it's catching the huge tree right there on fire.
Everyone. 3640.
Here, there's a little spot where we can maybe see it from up on this hill. I'm gonna go left and see if we can get a good vantage point of that. There's some very aggressive graffiti out here.
Oh.
Like very.
That's crazy.
And you still along with the programs on fire.
That's crazy. I'd say it did calm down a little bit. Just a little bit. But you never know what's going to happen. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. About our okay, there's nothing here outstanding.
There's a hill right here, and I think we can. Oh, there's a cop shutting it down. I was gonna say we can get a really. Oh, he just pulled right in front of it. Actually, no, maybe he's doing a U-turn.
After outstanding work, we're going to get some people up. If not, we'll change numbers while it's good.
So they're using this as shelter.
Look at all the tent housing here on the left.
They're using these as shelters.
Oh shoot.
Temple for a large ash fire that's going to grow bigger.
Yeah, this is the fire that they're talking about.
Just right here, it's on the camera. I don't know if you got a picture. But
You see the fire on the left.
The big girl on it or whatever it is.
See the cops shut this road down? That's all of the sheriffs right there.
There should have been CP that the arson station posted. Thank you so much for responding to that.
LA County Sheriff.
The sheriffs are going to send their arson investigators to you at the Code 6 location. So if you want to stand by just for a second. Do they have an EPA sheriff to respond up there?
Whoa, look at this car right here. The Barbie, the cut Barbie van is out here.
I can send it to you if you get ETA.
I think there's 20. They might have it for you on the ground.
They're going to send some arson investigators down to where that big fire is. I repeat, they're going to send some arson investigators down to where that big fire is.
I think we're going to go down and around and try to get back into the center because crossing over the 101 is just dead right now. That's where all the sheriffs are stopping people from getting into the city. This is Chinatown. This is where it was going down on Friday night. Seems like a long time ago now.
Mason from Watson.
Friday night at like 11 or 12, this is where they were throwing bottles at the SWAT vehicle and the ICE vehicles.
All right, we're gonna go to an official news channel, see what's going on across Los Angeles. And hold on.
So the fire is up and to the right.
Northbound Mason from Watson.
We're gonna go on some official sources here.
1 Zebra 2. Gonna be a white utility truck.
We're gonna go on some official news sources here. All right, let's see what we got here.
Couple of days here in our Los Angeles.
LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. Sheriff Luna, thank you so much for giving us time tonight. I know it's late on a Sunday night, but we really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna.
You as well. And as we were wrapping up with Sheriff Luna there, we were noticing here on the live shot from SkyCal that fire in that bush that we were first drawing attention to you, where we didn't know if whether someone was trying to ignite it or perhaps try to stop it with some sort of bottle. Fire engines are right there, just recently arrived as that fire has now started growing a little bit. This is one of several fires we've seen set throughout the city, all throughout the evening. Let's get right to Lori Perez, who's down there. And Lori, it looks like, tell us what you're seeing right now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We walked up here. This is the Broadway overpass over the one. I think we should.
What just happened?
Okay, it looks like we lost our Lori Perez there, but I believe there was a fire behind her. Maybe this one.
Yeah, I think she was saying, LA City Fire got here. A sheriff's department moved forward to allow LA City Fire, that light force from LA City Fire, to come in here and put this fire out. I was wondering for a second, so LA Sheriff has a very cool tool. It's called a fire cat. It is essentially a bear cat with a fire hose on it. So I was wondering if we were actually going to see that come in here and try to put that fire out, but it looks like they were able to push the crowd forward enough to get LA City Fire in here to be able to put that fire out. And thankfully, that vegetation that it's in, now you see water being put on it, is pretty green and not dry.
Yeah.
So it grew, but not as kind of rapidly as we would see if everything in there was that dry kind of brush. But, you know, luckily they're getting a handle on that, and we'll see, and John can look for us too, where our group is now, and if we're kind of starting to finally dissipate out here a little bit. I mean, I know there's still some on the corner here, but as they push through, the groups get smaller and smaller, which is really the goal. You heard Sheriff Luna go home or go to jail. And I did reach out to Torrance Police because I heard that they were coming up to help in downtown LA, which would be indicative of what the sheriff had just told us.
Yeah, he said it's going to happen tonight,
Yeah.
pretty much, that we are going to see outside agencies come to help. Not only LAPD, but LA sheriffs that have already been out there. He said about 100 deputies already deployed in this area. We see many of them. In fact, they are standing right there in front of us. Those are LA County Sheriff's deputies. I believe we want to get to Lauren Posen. Lauren, there's a skirmish line formed where you are.
Yeah, Leslie, yeah, right next to LAPD headquarters there, you see the officers are getting information there, and we still have the officers in front of us here too. They're going to be pretty stationary, I think, throughout the night here, again, blocking off these roads here. There is something going on by that old LA Times building. I should also say, now that I'm looking over this way, I don't see that fire anymore. But there's a lot of attention being put over there by these.
That's that pink car they were talking about.
People,
He
these
drove
agitators
past.
that are out here tonight, still in front of that building, that is completely tagged. Go ahead, Leslie.
No, sorry, Lauren. We were talking to our producer here, but we want to turn it back to you and what you're seeing there on the ground.
Okay. Okay, so now we have more patrol cars coming down the road here. You can probably hear them here. And here they come. It's been a lot of activity over here, a lot of police coming and going. But again, this is the first time we've seen this line being formed here next to headquarters. And, okay, they went the other direction, so you can't see them now. But we still have had the choppers above us, the police choppers as well. And,
Yeah, it's still going on.
We're just kind of, it's so odd. It's
So
like
basically,
you have
what they're trying to do is they're
going
trying to
here, and then you
disperse
have all this action going on here
the
too.
crowds here.
And it looks like the police, they might be just going the long way around as they try to secure this area.
The crowd's
more.
been getting smaller,
I
though,
think as
compared
Mike
to
has been
earlier.
saying,
Definitely been getting
they
smaller.
really want to
Definitely
close in on
been
this
getting
and
smaller.
break this group up. And the more they do that, the better handle they're going to get on things here. And again, over there by the LA Times building, the old LA Times building.
Right now, they're mostly just stationary
You don't need to
on the
stress out about
101st.
Just go to Insurify.
All the overpasses are locked down.
Oh, some people have left. I shouldn't say that.
They
There
got
have
the
been
county
people who have
sheriffs
left,
out
but there's
there.
still been a lot of attention
LA
over at this
County,
building here for some reason.
sheriffs
I'm
out
not
there.
quite sure why. Maybe it's because it's next to the PD headquarters.
LAPD.
I don't know.
They're mainly trying.
We also saw earlier,
we got 5
maybe
people
about 15 minutes ago,
They're mainly
we saw
trying to protect the
people
city
over
hall.
there using the street signs as barricades, the street blocks as barricades as they were advancing with law enforcement, and then they went back as well.
And then there's a lot of fires
So
being
there's
set
definitely
across the
something
city.
going on. The choppers also
kinda
have
ridiculous,
the big
you know?
spotlights down too, and they keep shining it down here, trying to get a feel for what's happening here on the ground, or better grasp.
Yeah, we
But
heard from
that's
the
really it
sheriff.
for right now. Again. Yeah, and I know the sheriff said that they're going to have enforcement, right, Leslie? They bring extra police, law enforcement out here. So maybe I know I did hear that the sheriff's department was over here, but I couldn't see. I just heard it.
Yeah, and his big message tonight was either go home or go to jail. Lauren, it really does look like this crowd is just made up of a couple dozen people. Now, obviously, they're still causing quite the disruption.
For sure.
But it has
For
really
sure.
thinned out, correct?
The amount of fireworks being launched, though.
Oh, right. Yeah, it has thinned out, absolutely.
It's
but they're
it's
still
definitely
there, and
thinned
that's
out.
problem, I
The
think,
amount of
tonight.
fireworks
I
being
don't-
launched.
Police, they don't
It's
want them there,
they're
'cause
still being
obviously doing
launched,
something they're
but
not supposed to be doing over there. Now here come this line of police
they're
cars.
mostly
Let's see if
maintaining
they-
control here.
What they do here. Okay, they're in the intersection. And see, again, the cars are not moving out of the way for law enforcement.
Oh yeah, they trying to see if they can be nosy. They trying to be nosy. They trying to be nosy down there.
Yeah, I mean, between them and the firefighters. Okay, now here we go. We do see patrol
got
cars
here?
at the corner there with the old LA Times building.
What we got here? They trying to be
I
nosy.
just heard
Let the police do their
explosion
job.
Go off. Didn't look like fireworks.
Hold on, another firework went off.
Yeah, there's something going on over there. I just can't see from where we
Okay,
are, and I
You
don't
see
know.
LAPD officers getting out of their vehicle as some of the people that were standing
All
on
right,
that
they're probably
corner
gonna
are
lock down
running
that street
away.
right there to prevent any more.
Okay, let me look closer here.
LAPD,
Okay, now you have the closer zoom on.
Okay, yeah, so they just
LAPD
mobilized
has
over there
everyone
to
out of their
prevent
vehicles to
further
address the
access to the
situation
101st overpass there.
Most people ran off. It doesn't look like they detained anyone there. We saw a couple of the people there just put their hands up and try to comply. And you're watching some of the other
This
groups
is crazy.
just kind of take off down the street.
You know, I do want to mention, too, for people at home who've been watching this with us, the law enforcement has been incredibly patient. Okay, there's
Oh,
another firework
we got
going
another
off,
firework there.
with this group here by this building. I mean, this has been going on, I don't know, for more than 3 hours. I mean, so they really have been patient in trying to let them
This is
do what they want to
crazy.
do over there. But when they ask them to disperse,
I can't
they're
believe
not
this
listening.
is-
Okay, what's going on over here? Let's
Oh,
show
hold
over
on.
here. Okay.
What we got going on? What
The
we got
patrol
going on?
car, I think they had an issue with those people over there. I think they were confronting the officers in the car, possibly. I'm not sure. But now the officers are going on the other side there, probably to match up with the LA Times building over there. So you can see here, everything changes so quickly. As I'm
This is
explaining one
definitely
thing to you,
a
something else
good
is happening on the other
balance
side of me. It's a lot going on here. Plus you got all the noise of the choppers
Of crowd
and
dispersion.
the sirens.
I love
It's just-
how
it's a lot
they're
happening here.
utilizing
I
every
mean,
single
still,
asset
which
in
just
LA
amazes me. You have people walking around
to
as if it's
disperse
just a normal
these
Sunday.
crowds. I love how they're
People
doing
just
this.
kind of just in the area
If they
with
keep
their
this
dogs,
up,
just
eventually these
walking.
crowds are gonna go
we've
down.
seen
All
that
this
really throughout the entire evening, Lauren. It's sort of a striking image, really, because it's a reminder that for a lot of people, you know, they still have to go about their daily routine as best they can, even when they're surrounded with so much chaos in their backyard. And you know, just seeing these images come across, and you hope, and I know we've been saying this for more than 24 hours now because you've been there for a couple days, and when we
How
asked
long
you
I've
this
been
last
streaming?
night, it's you're hoping for the best when you're going through those
I've been
ebbs and
streaming for
flows
an hour and
things seem
35
like they're
minutes.
on a downswing and they're quieting down, but then you know, you have a bunch of other, you have a bunch of other fireworks and other things that, that
someone
start to
just
happen.
popped some
So,
fireworks
you know,
there.
We'll keep an eye on that. Thank you for you, and we'll check back in here in just a few minutes with you. In the meantime, we'll continue to monitor this situation as SkyCal gives you the wide view of downtown LA there, and law enforcement establishing their lines and trying to keep things under control.
And Gio and Leslie, I want to point something out because, you know, as we've talked about this discussion of federal immigration, we've got obviously the clashes that have happened because of it, but the city of Glendale is one of a few. I don't think there's very many. I know LAPD and LA County Sheriffs don't do it, but apparently, and I didn't realize this, the city of Glendale had a contract with ICE. So they had an ICE detainee contract that they have now canceled as a result of this. So this was something where essentially if ICE
if you
needed
see
them to
something,
hold somebody, or if they had somebody in their custody and they would have otherwise been released, they would have continued to hold them for ICE.
Oh yeah, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, that was a big controversy earlier this week.
I mean, from my perspective, I'm declaring this an act of domestic terrorism.
As of tonight, saying that originally it was almost like grandfathered in.
Depending on
they were
what
the
I
only city
saw
around their
earlier.
area that still had that situation. So that is news too.
But I'm glad they're utilizing their assets. They're actually doing something, dispersing the crowds, really effectively.
For the most part, it looks like it is clear
because
from
they had a lot of those
we
people
continue to
on the
monitor
bridges, on the overpasses down there earlier,
throughout
and
the
then they just
area.
dispersed the
We'll continue
crowd
to do that
late tonight.
And on that note, we're welcoming our Channel 2 viewers to our breaking news coverage. Another night of chaos in downtown LA with several fires set throughout the city.
Yeah, LAPD declaring an unlawful assembly for all of downtown.
And now we're hearing reports of businesses being looted. You can see officers at one point outside of a store. You still see them there, where it appears the glass door in this video was shattered.
Yeah, I
Also
heard
tonight,
that on the
things
police
taking a
scanner.
strange turn.
Yeah, we were keeping an eye on a fire set by protesters when we saw a minivan. You see it here doing donuts in the intersection. People
This is wild, bro.
At that
And they
van.
throwing
The
rocks at it.
driver speeding off, almost slamming into a crowd, especially where our Lori Perez was standing.
Yes, he just came right at us. Oh my God.
I couldn't be a news reporter. I couldn't be a news reporter. Not on the ground.
The then took off in reverse, driving backwards for a few hundred feet, then got out to move a trash bin, got back on
They
the
were
road,
talking about that
almost
van.
hit
That van
pedestrians
was
and other
controversial on the
drivers,
police
and was
scanner.
chased by protesters.
That
Then
van
tried
was
to get into
controversial.
Another car at one point. You see it there before he was eventually taken into custody.
That van was controversial on the. Okay, that was earlier. So yeah, they were on the
This was
overpass
the scene
earlier.
Earlier tonight, downtown LA, destruction, explosions,
But then they easily,
fireworks set off.
not really
CHP
easily,
patrol
they
cars
kind of
were
had to force them off the
destroyed.
bridge
There were at least 6
using
Waylos
non-lethal
burned,
tactics.
and a big mess left behind as
See,
immigration
this here,
rate protests do
technically
continue
that
for
is
a
destruction
third
of government
day.
property there.
Well, good evening, everyone.
It's
I'm Gio Insignaris.
And I'm
ridiculous.
Leslie Marine. While the immigration protests enter its 12th hour just today
It's
alone,
ridiculous, man.
they started out peacefully around 11 this morning, before then getting out of control around 1 this afternoon.
It's crazy.
This is where things are right now.
So we do have
Take a look.
confirmation
This is
that
from a bit earlier,
other counties
when a crowd
are going
set
to be coming
a
in
small fire there in the middle of
and
an
assisting.
intersection. This lasted for quite some time, but
From, the
they
county
were able
sheriff.
to quickly put it out, and that crowd then dispersed. I believe this is a live look from SkyCal now.
Yeah, you're seeing that crowd on the corner of the street there. Notice traffic still moving back and forth. It's sort of been that way for at least a few hours right now, where at least this crowd is not in the middle of traffic, but you see the skirmish line there from
so
law
every single
enforcement. On that note, let's
police
get back
officer
to Lauren
assigned
Posen, who's been in
to
this
LA
area, all through
City,
the night. And Lauren, what are you seeing right
Los
now?
Angeles County, is somewhere downtown assigned
On the
to
street,
right. Oh, we
to
got
the
another
old LA
explosion
Times
there.
Building. I see officers.
Got
That
another
probably are in
explosion there.
SWAT gear. They're in that truck there. We've seen,
Oh!
you've probably seen this throughout our coverage today. They arrive in these big trucks.
All right,
and they're
so we got
all
we got
loaded in the back
the.
there. Let's see if they get out.
Looks like we got government here.
They possibly are
FBI
there. It looks like they're
in
slowing
full
down.
riot gear.
So again, there's something going on at this LA Times, the old LA Times building. That's why there's so much attention over there.
Oh,
Not quite
okay,
sure
so
what.
we got
the
federal
crowd does
vehicles
seem to
going
be
in.
thinned out from what we've seen from earlier tonight, but we continue to see
Near City
fireworks
Hall.
going off. Very loud fireworks. Some of them being set off in this park across the street. Others just right in the middle of the road.
My question is,
don't
where
see that
is your
there
SWAT
was a fire
teams?
earlier.
You have
near
your
a trash can.
standard
That
police
seems to have gone
officers
away.
in riot
And,
gear, but where's your
again,
SWAT
traffic is
teams?
still
Where are
moving
they
here
being assigned?
on both sides here, which is just really weird to see because all this is going on and then the cars are still going through.
Dang.
I also want to mention too,
Pulling up in black vans?
The whole downtown is just covered in graffiti. I've been to multiple spots throughout.
They really call
last
for the
night
backup.
and tonight, and now
And they
we're in
need
front
it.
of LAPD headquarters. And although there are
Pulling up in
barricades
black
in front,
vans?
that didn't seem to stop people from tagging LAPD headquarters there. And of course, the sidewalks are all tagged. The federal buildings are all tagged. Everywhere I look, I see tagging. And I know you might be thinking, well, yeah, but you're downtown. Tagging is not that unusual. This is a new level of tagging. I mean, it is completely covered. And of course, we can't really show you what the words say because they're all profanity words. We can't show you that on TV. But they're all tagged here. Again, now the line I showed you earlier today is no longer there. Now, I will say over here, though, the officers have moved their cars up. I think they're just getting in position here. I've noticed that, too, right in front of City Hall. They'll move their patrol cars up and just kind of be stationed there. I'm hearing honking going on at the intersection a block from where we are here, which is not unusual from what we've heard throughout the night here. Again, we've heard honking, we've heard screaming. As people are going by, they're yelling at the officers right in front. Some people are yelling at the officers right in front of us.
I mean, that's
it's
fine.
Not even, the officers
It's peaceful.
aren't even flinching with that.
They're exercising their
It's
First
not
Amendment
impacting them at
rights.
all. And
But when you start
that's
throwing
really what's
stuff at,
going on here.
at police
It's, you know,
officers, that's when it
changes by
gets
the moment here, but
illegal.
it seems like I don't want to say it's getting calmer because we all know what happens when we say that things take a turn, but it's definitely quieter than what we've seen in the last, let's say, 15 minutes.
It is.
Yeah, well,
Leslie Gio?
We're seeing, thank you, we're seeing, you know, that row of officers there on First Street and a small collection of protesters. You see a couple still holding up a banner, waving flags, and getting, you know, a couple of them are getting up a little bit closer to law enforcement. You see one with their phone there.
Yeah,
That's, you know, a much smaller amount than what we were
brother.
seeing beforehand. In some cases, even going face to face with officers. But like we mentioned before, when it turns into a numbers game, there are certainly a lot more law enforcement personnel than there are protesters and demonstrators in downtown LA and across the general area. Especially when you consider when we talked to the sheriff earlier, and he said that there will be more sheriff's deputies and law enforcement that will be down there to help out eventually.
Mike, but you're saying what exactly LAPD was worried about here.
Right, and two things are happening. First of all, John, I want you to show them the windows again. This is on the side of the LAPD headquarters building.
Windows?
Dean, on our digital desk, had seen some social media chatter about people using scooters to break the windows, and John's going to have to probably slide to the right a little bit, but right on the side of the LAPD building,
Why are they doing
there's
that?
multiple windows.
You know that's destruction of government property, right?
Multiple windows that are busted and broken there on the side of LAPD headquarters.
Nah.
So we're looking at that. We're also getting some word, and as soon as John gets a shot of this, then I'll have him go look over there. But yeah, there you start to see some of the windows, especially on the left there, right there.
That's
That is
destruction of
probably what
government
prompted it.
property,
Earlier we saw
bro.
the fire department coming in.
Yeah.
That's probably what prompted that. I would assume that the shattered windows set off some sort of alarm that then prompted a fire department response. Quickly, John, 8th and Broadway, we're getting some reports of an Adidas store being looted. So we're going to go move John
Somebody
over
trying to
there,
get some shoes.
and take a quick look at that. It shouldn't be too terribly far, so we'll let you guys know what we see when we get there. But John's going to go look at that right now.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold
so I
on,
thought
hold
making
on.
their way to that area, that would
When we get
Well-
there, but
ICE and KKK.
gonna go.
Wow. Okay, so they lost contact with this lady here.
We're here on the intersection of Spring Street and
She looked
Aliso.
nervous.
It seems that,
She looked
law
nervous.
enforcement like us are kind of on standby, waiting to see what reveals itself in the next couple of hours. Here you can see.
Hold on, first off, how'd she get past the line of scrimmage there?
Any cars down towards City Hall, down towards the downtown area. If you take a look at the Spring Street overpass over the 101 behind me, you can see another layer of law enforcement.
They
has,
locked that down.
lined up there, again,
That street,
not letting anyone
about
past
25 minutes ago.
the intersection towards downtown. A lot of activity
wasn't
all
closed
around
like
us
that.
in the sky, choppers overhead, and of course all sorts of law enforcement all around us, really keeping an eye on the situation. This area further down, that's where they pushed the agitators about a couple of hours ago down towards Chinatown past Olvera Street, and that's where a lot of that chaos unfolded. Some of the things that you showed at the top of the show, where there was that out of control minivan, and then really a lot of fireworks being set off, a lot of protesters throwing rocks and bottles.
This is crazy.
At passing LAPD officers.
But I'm glad. I'm really glad.
And then additionally, also launching.
And I'm gonna give them the props. I'm gonna give LA the props. They might not be doing it effectively, but they're doing it. Which is like they're using their assets. Using their assets to, you know, disperse these crowds.
So that will be a big cleanup once things get back to normal. Who knows when that will be? We certainly
What's that, a
hope
luxury
overnight
store?
Things do
Oh, that's the
de-escalate,
Adidas store.
And really, that law enforcement is able to get a handle on
What they
things
about to
over
do?
the next couple of hours. Guys, back to you.
They about to break into the Adidas. They're trying to get some free shoes.
Mike Rogers here. Mike, is this that Adidas store you were talking about that was possibly broken into?
Yeah, and as John's coming around with SkyCal, these buildings make it hard for us to get a good angle to see, but it does look like I see kind of a shattered window. Certainly LAPD is here. Actually, even a shattered window on the second floor right there.
Yeah. Oh.
So I don't know if they tried to throw something at it from the inside. That's kind of weird, but as John comes around, we may be able to get a better look at it. But this was the report at the Adidas store here. This is at 8th and Broadway. John, what's on top of that police car right to the left there?
Let's
There's
see.
that
Let's see.
door. Same way that the other store was.
Yeah.
The door was right on the flat, and so it looks maybe they recovered some of that merchandise that those officers are bringing back inside of the store. Interesting.
Oh, yeah,
how
they
that's
stole some
happening. I wonder if
clothes.
they're using a tool or something like that to have those doors fall in the exact same way.
Cop has some alcohol in his hand.
Just put on the
Oh
light.
yeah, he laughing. He
So
laughing.
we're getting the crew over there right now.
He's laughing.
Hopefully we'll be able to get some more answers from law enforcement. But you know what also happens here is, and especially if this is a multi-story business, is those officers have to go in and clear that whole business to make sure that there's nobody left inside. We saw them do that at the last one where that looked like a Jordan store. They went up on the roof where there was a basketball court and had to clear through that. So they'll have to do that here as well and make sure there's nobody inside. It looks like they probably already have done it, or here comes a contingent of officers coming out of the store now.
Yeah, we also saw a couple people walking by with their phones and taking video, presumably of the damage or anything else they could get an eye on. We've seen a bunch of that constantly throughout the night and throughout the early afternoon, where you have people, in some cases, just taking video, taking photos of either the damage or the chaos or any assortment of things that was going on across the area.
And you wonder if they were able to make any arrests, because
I
they
hope
did
so.
have
I hope
a
so.
ton of merchandise
Yeah.
in their hands, arms full.
They had some clothes.
Yeah, you can see a lot of those boxes that were sifted
Some
through, or,
shoes.
people whoever was in there trying to get that merchandise. But it's interesting. You did see that liquor bottle that they put down, and then
Oh, yeah.
just piles and piles of what looked like merchandise that they were bringing
Right.
back into the store. So maybe they were able to get there in time to
Hopefully,
arrest some of these
hopefully.
people, or you know what, it could have been one or two people. We don't know. At this
And a lot of the times, while we're still working to gather details and figure out exactly what went on, we really just have the video and the body language of officers to go off of right now. And based on their body language right now, things seem to be,
Under
relatively
control.
under control in the
Yeah.
sense that they are returning some of the presumed stolen merchandise. There's a liquor bottle there sitting at the edge of the table.
Yeah,
You're gonna have
they
to clear
seem to
things
be
out, as
chill
Mike
right
said,
now.
And
In this
and
area.
make sure everything is
Now
is
the
secure.
officers
So,
that are
right now,
protecting
it
the
seems like it's in the
overpasses, they look
aftermath of
nervous.
whatever
They
happened,
look
but,
nervous.
Leslie, as you mentioned, this is one of two, right? Because it was that Jordan store a little bit earlier where we saw some shoes scattered
That was
around
the
in
Jordan
front
store was over there
entrance,
by
and the doors
Broadway,
and windows smashed in a
Boulevard.
similar way to what we're seeing right there, right underneath the Adidas logo. You see that door and slash window smashed down onto the ground, and now they're setting up police tape.
Yeah, and just a sign of people taking advantage of what has been a very
This is-
disruptive
wow.
night throughout downtown LA. We know at this hour,
Hey, just don't come to
LAPD
Vegas.
has
Don't come to
declared an
Vegas with
unlawful
that.
assembly for
We ain't gonna
all
play that.
of downtown.
We ain't gonna
We
play
also
that.
spoke to the sheriff, whose message was, go home or
Mm-hmm.
go to jail. Even speaking about calling for mutual aid tonight, Mike.
We do, and I'm
Yep.
hearing we have a ground shot from Scott Mackey, and this is actually going to be the other location. So you're looking at the
Oh.
Adidas right here.
Oh.
Down
Okay, that's the
street,
other
which
one.
we're
This is the
working
other
on
one they're
showing
about
to you
to
in just
show
a
on
second, is
Broadway.
where that Jordan location was, and
This is the
obviously
other
when we
one.
look at the
They're
shot,
hopefully
there's
about to
actually
show
a
you
Nike
guys.
store, if there was just a Jordan store, I think they're still have that brand deal with Nike. So we'll see if that was what that was. But, you know, this is now the second business. And then, of course, we're also, my colleague Esteban out on the assignment desk is hearing some more over back at First and Broadway, which is back where.
Okay,
that
yeah,
was
where the first breaking in.
Right there.
Yep, that one right there.
There's that store where.
So that was the first one that was broken into.
If you can go back over to First and Broadway while we look at these live pictures from Scott Mackey, we'll get him back over there and try to get a look at that situation, potentially at the old LA Times building where Lauren Posen has been all night, which we know there is a group of people over there. So John's going to work his way back over there. Left side of your screen, live pictures, and I believe that was, what, 11th and Broadway? 6th and Broadway, I'm sorry.
6th and Broadway.
And just, 2 blocks up at 8th and Broadway was where the Adidas store was. So who knows if it's the same group. The way the door was looking, it looked like it was done in a similar way. So obviously they'll have to sort that out. And on the right side of your screen is Chopper. Oh, look, there's another street fire in the street.
All right, so we got a new fire in the street.
So we'll get a little bit closer as we can. And I can't tell if this is back at First and Broadway. I'm looking for the old Times building. Yep, right there. Okay. So we'll come around and look at that. As you can see, the Marine layers getting pretty
south of City Hall.
It's going to be difficult for our chopper to really get those shots from far away. Just so you can see inside that store. We don't know what it looked like before, but you can see it doesn't look like much on those shelves there or those racks out in front. You see that door that was shattered.
You ain't seeing nothing up in there.
You see one shoe there, but
shoe.
Why didn't you take the other shoe?
Scattered shoes across the ground there, but
bro.
Yeah, it looks like possibly this gentleman may be involved with the business, and because he's been out there all night. But that's the
he has his
second
Nike.
business. This was actually the first, I should say,
Right. Yep.
Of 2 businesses that we have seen possibly looted. And then you're taking a look at LAPD headquarters, where several of the windows have also
LAPD
been shattered
headquarters.
there.
Wow.
And
Take
folks
a look,
walking
you can
around,
see, it looks like possibly a police detective walking around here.
And that is where, for everyone's reference, the LAPD headquarters is where most of the administrative work is done. There's not necessarily, black and white patrol cars that come out of there. That's where all their specialized detective units are. That's where the chief is. That's where all their kind of administrative units are. And now we're looking, John, right in the front of the steps there of that LA Times building is where we were hearing, and we see that crowd down there. So we'll look in there and see what they've got going on down here.
See what they got going on.
As you see that crowd right there on the sidewalk.
Yeah, this might be the one of the, and I say this in quotes, one of the larger crowds we've seen as we get deeper and deeper into the night, because setting up a little fence barricade there. That's something we've seen throughout the evening. I mean, when the first time we were seeing protesters and demonstrators putting up their own barricades were grabbing benches, right, and other items.
Where'd
to
they
just
get
sort
a
of set
fence
it up,
from?
Along the street. This one is
and where they get illegal fireworks
from?
from?
The tree all the way across, and then there's this fire right there in the middle on those two.
They burnt the barricade.
Those were 2 of the items, in fact, similar to the ones being used earlier on the makeshift barricades that folks were lining up against officers. But
I don't think they want to go against the federal
right
riot
on First Street.
unit.
Really
I don't think they want to go against that federal riot unit,
A few protesters
You
there.
saw
see the ones
earlier
with
how they
banners,
pulled up
going
in that
to the
black
line
van and then just...
and sharing their thoughts, but for the most part, it's a bit more scattered than normal.
I wouldn't be that
and
stupid
it's
to...
getting a little bit more development here with the fence. Now they're moving it along up the street, it seems like.
That's definitely one of the bigger objects they've used tonight.
Where'd they get that from?
I think normally that area just across the street from LAPD that is now an empty lot, that is always fenced off there, and it looks like this group of people have pulled that fence
they tore the fence apart.
Roadway, blocking First Street
destruction
there,
of
right
property.
In front of the old LA Times.
That's another charge.
Something interesting here. LAPD Central Division, reiterated their unlawful assembly announcement, but this time said those with cell phones in the area of the Civic Center have received the alert. So I'm wondering if they're using the wireless emergency alerts to target people in that area, because so the way the unlawful assembly works is they have to verbalize that somehow to the crowd. And usually the crowd is much more condensed, and they do that.
And they have phones too.
Loudspeakers or PAs of the police cars, and they'll make those announcements. But
even the helicopters was tracking somebody that white van. He said, "I'm gonna be at your house at 4 a.m." Helicopter speakers.
Lawful assembly. Cool. It looks like they may be using
these protests, and I've never actually seen them use this way of alerting people, and using
I've
cell
never
phones,
seen this
but
before.
in this case, they're using all their resources to make sure.
Oh,
people
we got a
know,
new fire
hey,
over there, possibly.
This is a situation going on. If you can't hear us saying it, if you're not looking on social
Possibly
media
got a
and
new
getting
fire
alerts,
over there. I'm not sure.
you will get an alert on your cell phone to tell you this is an unlawful assembly. You have to go home. If not, we have the right to arrest you.
Yeah.
We also have the right to use less than lethal munition here.
Which we certainly have seen throughout the
they
throughout
use
the day
flashbangs,
here as this crowd
tear
is
gas,
just
batons.
sort of scattered, but now you're seeing some movement.
Yeah, and fireworks, they're using less than lethal rounds at them as well.
Okay.
So it looks like the LAPD may be engaging with them a little bit more.
Okay, so we got some.
And again, you watch those officers, and those situations right now we're watching, it looks like they're shooting them at the ground. And so then they're ricocheting off, and it's certainly enough to get their attention.
Yeah.
You know that, hey, this is we're shooting these at you guys, and we will, can be more direct with them if need be. And you see a couple of them are going into that little cove there of the old LA Times building. I can't tell. I don't. If I remember that building correctly, and John was in downtown for a very long time.
He's peeking out.
Is there? That's the only entrance, right? I don't think there's windows on that ground level for them to destroy or get in that way.
Peeking out.
Yeah. Not that he knows of, but yeah, that is the entrance to get into. It's not the LA Times building anymore, so now it's a historical lobby, and they can go in there. People can go in there and look. So it doesn't. I can't tell if they've gone in because that cove is kind of so far back that it's hard for us to see with an angle. But they're certainly hanging out in there, and then they've got that fire burning in the street.
In the meantime, you're seeing on the left side of your screen that live shot from one of our photographers of one of the reportedly looted businesses in the area. I believe that's the shoe store, the Jordan Nike store, I believe. And then the man in front that you see, I believe that's the same one that's potentially involved with the store. We've seen him on the phone multiple times and hanging around the area here. But there's scattered shoe. You see one there. And a number of other scattered items. Meantime, on the right side of your screen, there you go, and you see that long line of law enforcement right there on First Street, and a couple of other folks.
So they're starting to use
phones out, taking videos, taking photos, and
I think those are beanbag
scattered at this point.
I'm not sure,
but
I can't
not
see.
hesitating. There you go, right there at the top of your screen. The lasers are up, and the less than lethals are being used once again.
And what's interesting here is that they're shooting down the street where we're seeing those people bring that fence and place it to block
those
the street.
things are
but
canisters.
Just a few people,
but I'm not sure.
People, standing right in front of officers, and the officers are not, taking any action against those people, probably because they aren't, inciting much violence, but. They do
they're just recording.
Right now.
I mean, there's nothing they can do if you're recording. But if you're throwing stuff,
John, we're looking for the fence. I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't tell if that was it back over there at the corner. I kind of thought they were going to try to block off the street. I don't really know what the point of the fence there would be, but.
Oh yeah, they're blocking off what, the sidewalk?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not down there, but it seems like a weird place to drag. You're going to do all that work with the fence, and then you just kind of block off the sidewalk.
And there's that fire.
It's laying on the ground. They gave up on it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, that is a good sign that law enforcement does not want to see anything blocking the street. We've seen this fire. This was a fire that sparked, got put out, and is now back.
Fire that won't quit. And I think this is the one that Lauren was looking at for a good chunk of the night. And I can't tell. It looks like a barrel or a trash can that's in there. But every now and again, somebody comes and tosses something in there to keep it moving.
Yeah. And this is the situation we have been seeing throughout the night. The progress that law enforcement has made, although we spoke to Sheriff Robert Luna, who said that they have called.
By the way, they do have arson investigators deployed tonight.
County. We were talking about cities like Torrance possibly making their way down there.
So you guys should be seeing them secure this area soon and get some arson investigators in.
How about LAPD? We're not seeing very many people still out there tonight, although we are
depending on how their assets are
looting
right
that
now.
had happened, in the last couple hours here, that law enforcement is being alerted to now.
And the sheriff making that message clear: go home or go to jail, right? So it's with the increase in law enforcement and the decrease in crowds and protesters and agitators, you would think that things would be winding down, hopefully. But of course, there are still these hot spots, quite literally in some cases, with this fire here, and multiple other ones as well, because we were seeing over by Chevron Station that dumpster fire truck and then dumpster fire, and then fire engines trying to get to that. There was the fire in a bush as well that we were
over by the overpass at the 101.
A collection of things across the area.
Oh, we got a crowd coming
and
this way.
Says now there's this crowd making its way. Looks like toward officers walking in the middle of the street.
Why you guys gonna monetize this, bro?
I went through lenders and I just would nod almost instantly. When I drove off the lot, I smiled the whole way home.
All right, what we got
we're
here?
going to monitor where LAPD officers are going here at
City
headquarters.
Hall.
Lori, we're seeing a large amount of officers make their way through your area.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not necessarily indicative of anything. They are mobilizing throughout the city.
Why it sound like a war zone though? It sounds like a war zone.
We have seen them several times throughout
Earlier,
the day.
it really sounded like a war zone. There was explosions.
If there's any reason that they're going through there, perhaps they're just, going around areas where they have
they running.
groups assembling throughout the day.
They running. What's going on?
From the area of Chinatown,
what they
past
about to
O'Hare
do?
Street, where there were lots of people assembled, and where we saw a lot of action. Just
All right.
a few hours
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
Now
I
that
kind of
we're
see what
back
they're trying to do.
Hopefully.
And I hope this is what they're trying to do.
As the night continues, and really trying to keep an eye
Hopefully they're flanking through City Hall to converge on that street and lock that street down so they can get some arson investigators in. Hopefully they're going to come in, which is probably most likely. They're going to come in from City Hall. Oh, fireworks. In the street.
And make it clear, as you have said so many times, that you will go home, you're going to get arrested. So perhaps that message is getting through to some of the people downtown. Hopefully it is. But we're kind of in an area where it's weird to say, but there's not a lot going on, but there is a lot going on.
See, the dangerous thing is,
that are set up behind us. And
the dangerous thing is, those fireworks, those big ones, can act as concussive devices, and it can harm those cops' ears. They can blind them too if it's close enough. All right, so they have the arson investigators there.
Wrapping up there, we see officers here on the right side of your screen, now taking full screen.
See, what did I say? They was gonna come in, flank City Hall, and try to get that fire out.
Quit,
Look at them, and then they're probably gonna.
And now taking a bit of a step back. As,
probably gonna try to take that side.
What's going on there, or if this is an intentional approach to this.
Didn't I say they was gonna flank her?
And as Lori was talking, you could see someone was shooting off some of those fireworks. It looked like a pretty good round. There were probably, 5 or 6 going off, one after another, as police, once again, using a fire extinguisher to try to put out this fire here that started. Looks like a garbage can.
A little bit of a less intense version of what we were seeing.
Oh yeah,
in
the bushfire was crazy
on the 101, where you had officers underneath the overpass stepping out just to try and knock out the fires or attempted fires on their vehicles, but then had to retreat back underneath it because you had people throwing not just fireworks, but then rocks, concrete, scooters,
incendiary stuff,
everything. So this. Pardon me, this is a much calmer version of it. Now people are scattering about a little bit here.
And we're really looking at, in grand total,
I love that they're coordinating with arson investigators.
That are just bouncing from one spot
not only
to
to
another,
block access to some streets.
You just wonder when they'll get tired and bored of it, or if they'll ever get into a position where LAPD can just run in and make an arrest there, as they're now sitting here. And I believe that is that the federal courthouse? I think that. Yeah, that is the.
Why is that not protected? That is a federal building.
So, we saw that sign vandalized earlier. And John, I don't know if you're in a position to look at it, but I just wanted to see if the 101 had ever reopened.
Oh, yeah,
you know, it
I
looked
do wanna
like,
see
on
that.
our
I do
traffic
wanna
maps
see
it's
that.
Still listed as black, but I just don't. I was curious if that ever got resolved by CHP. And no, it doesn't look like it. I mean, it's up in the law
I mean, the
enforcement,
other one
but
over there
just
on
the
the
northbound side is open. The southbound
west
side is
side's
still
open,
closed, so
and
I wonder if they didn't have a chance. Okay, actually, John,
California
let's get on some of
Highway
these cop
Patrol.
cars. I think these are the outside city mutual aid that are
Oh,
coming
yeah.
in. I just saw
hold on,
one
let's
of them
see.
looked like some of the South Bay cities.
Oh, well, you have really good eyes to be able
Yeah.
to see that.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's Pasadena
that's
right there.
definitely
There was a couple of
foreign
other cop cars
aid
out
there.
Pasadena, so we are starting to get the, as Sheriff Luna
Okay.
said, he asked for outside
Okay.
agencies, outside cities, outside counties.
We get
to
some
come
good
in and
news
assist,
here.
and
We get
that's what
some
we're starting to
aid
see
here.
with some of these other ones, and I'll see if I can.
We got
pick out
Pasadena.
Who else is there? We definitely saw Pasadena as they're just.
Hopefully San Bernardino comes.
But, you know, they're. Whether or not anybody thought we needed the National Guard, we're gonna, you know, the sheriff's gonna prove, hey, we got our own law enforcement here. We'll handle it ourselves.
I beg to put the question out there,
Yeah.
should this have been done sooner? Could it have been done
Yeah,
sooner?
it could have.
Right.
Maybe there were other factors
It
that
could
we
have.
obviously do not know about. But
Right.
another thing the sheriff also spoke about was bringing in their booking team,
Right.
which can book a lot of people at one time.
Right, roadside booking. You know, they bring in
Booking,
those Burbank PD is what John was just telling me too. Is also down there. They bring in those trailers, or the buses, and they can do a lot of booking. They'll you know relocate and make kind of a makeshift area in a parking lot if they need to, and do those kind of operations there. Now, obviously. That is, you know, purely if they're going to be able to do a cite and release situation. If it's just for failure to disperse, that's usually a cite and
Charge.
release. If it's something more serious, of course, you'll end up in county jail, Metropolitan Detention
Oh, yeah,
Center,
for
not
sure.
federal
So-
Metropolitan Detention Center, but LAPD's Metropolitan Detention Center. They call them the same things, unfortunately, or Metropolitan Jail, I guess. And then Twin Towers in downtown. But yeah, I mean, you know, we didn't get to that situation tonight because they were able to,
Look at 'em.
continuously push
Look
these
at 'em.
crowds away
Whoa,
from everywhere.
Pasadena
I think,
came
yeah,
not
John
to
told me
play.
Alhambra, those two black
They
tops
ain't
there,
playing.
on top, is
Look at
Alhambra
Pasadena.
PD. So we are starting to see it in San Gabriel Valley. You know,
Oh, San
Pasadena,
Gabriel.
Burbank, we have seen.
They got the park rangers from San Gabriel. You know that's an
A
hour
lot
and
of law
45
enforcement
minutes
that
away.
are now pouring into downtown.
Dang.
And a lot of this will be to you know, deal with the crowds, even though they are starting to thin out significantly.
Hey, you
But
know it's bad when
you
they got park
local
rangers
law
out here.
enforcement has to be able to
From
go
San Gabriel,
deal with other
that's
things
far.
in the city.
Yeah.
And so this
About
will
an hour
give
and
the
45
opportunity
minutes,
for
but-
LAPD and the sheriffs, mostly LAPD. to
You
be
know
able
it's
to
bad
send
when
some
you
of
got
their
park
officers
rangers
back.
doing
I saw
riot
an
duty.
LAPD car not a couple minutes ago that was from Foothill Division, which is basically the very north end of the San Fernando Valley up in
Yeah.
Sylmar.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they've got to be able to get those officers back to their home divisions to try to deal with that. That's Bell PD right there that's coming in as well. Montebello right behind it. I can see the
Montebello.
MTB on top. So we're really
San
starting to
Bernardino
get
should be
this
coming out
mutual
soon.
aid that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these officers will be here through the night to monitor the situation. If anything,
You know it's
were to
bad when they
happen,
have park rangers out
you
here.
know, just bring safety really
Yeah.
to the city.
Yeah.
Make people that live in this downtown area feel safe throughout the night and through the morning. You could probably expect them to do an overnight shift here.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we're really going to see them come to use at this point.
And really, I just want to show, I mean, first of all, you've got all these officers that are finally taking a break, but
Yeah.
in the gutters, look at all the less than lethal cartridges
Wow.
that are left over. I mean, it is just
Okay, so,
kind of
yeah, they
astounding
are
how many
canisters that
got
they're
used
using.
tonight, and they're just kind of littered all over the streets. Interesting enough,
That's
look
a
at that
lot,
officer
bro.
using one of the chairs
What was y'all doing?
taken from Grand Park
Yeah.
to kind of sit down and take a load off for a second.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
a bunch of them are.
That's
it
a-
speaks to
that's
the
a lot of
cleanup that's gonna have to happen, you know, after the fact because you know.
Yeah, but
tying
if
in
San
what Lori and
Bernardino
Lauren
comes
have been
through
saying all
from
night
their
is
county
that,
police
you know, there's a
and
ton
sheriffs,
of graffiti, there's a ton of debris.
we good.
There's,
They pretty much good.
There's fireworks.
Hopefully.
There's all of these
If it does not get
cartridges
more violent.
and
You can make up
if
the
San
mountain
Bernardino
unit,
comes
you know,
through,
that's
we
still,
good.
The horses that are still
yeah.
on scene here, we saw them
They got injured.
being used a lot earlier for that crowd control.
Oh, yeah.
At times,
They
people
got injured.
throwing projectiles at
got
the
injured.
horses.
Yeah, they got injured.
They were, we know, trained for situations like crowd control.
But not
many
for
times
fireworks.
They didn't even flinch.
No, yeah.
It was hard to watch
Right.
for me, but we
Yeah,
got
they
to
got
remind
it.
ourselves that they have been trained and they go through training to do this. But you can still see a skirmish line of officers here as they're pushing some
This is
people
good.
through.
This is
Not
good
very many
news.
left, but
Earlier, the
they're still
officers
using the
weren't sure
less than lethal.
what was going on.
And LAPD putting out a message tonight, and anybody that may be watching our coverage that is concerned
And they
or
weren't
worried about their
confident
business in
to,
downtown
move
and,
forward like
won't
this. They
know
were just
until the
staying
morning
back.
whether or not it was
And now
vandalized.
they know what
LAPD
they're
is
doing.
asking any business owner, any property owner, resident that has any vandalism, they're asking them to take pictures of it, document it, and contact LAPD Central Division so that it can be properly documented and a police report can be filed. They'll want to retroactively go back and try to see what kind of cameras they can get, what kind of any kind of footage that can help them figure out who was responsible for these vandalisms. And in certain situations, if they're able to connect, one person or a group of people to multiple types of vandalisms, that obviously strengthens the case against them, and they can be charged with additional crimes as a result of it. So if you have a business or you live in downtown and you haven't been back to check on it, if you do have damage, if it has been vandalized, LAPD wants you to take a report. They want you to take pictures and file a report so that they can try to go after the people that did it.
Okay, so they're finally protecting the federal building there. It should have been protected though.
Normal to find these videos of people because we've seen so many instances throughout the night of folks taking video and taking photos of what's going on and turning it into, we've used the word photo shoot often, right? Of just standing in front of fires of other forms of vandalism, and just it turns into this big atmosphere, and it's going to be used proficiently to find out who these people are in many of these cases.
Well, and then you have other situations like the Waymo cars. They have cameras everywhere on them, and the Waymo cars are expensive. I mean, John and I were talking about this earlier. They run anywhere between $100,000 to $300,000 to outfit. I mean, first of all, they're Jaguars.
Yeah.
Secondly, the amount of technology that is in them is insane to be able to make that car function that way. So, I mean, you're talking about if you get busted with that, that's a very serious crime. I mean, it's arson, it's
destruction of government property.
And a quick question, Mike, did we ever, because I know you mentioned this, and this was many hours ago, obviously we've been going through a lot of different things. Did Waymo ever reach back?
If they wanted to be not rude, they could charge them with a lot of things.
We did hear on the radio at one point that LAPD was requesting somebody to contact Waymo to get them to disable that. I don't actually, I have Waymo on my phone. Let me see if I can order a car to downtown. I'll tell you right now. Hang on 1 second. But no, Waymo officially did not respond to us.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll hear from them in the next few days here, given that was such a big scene down there for so many hours.
Yeah.
And we know that LAPD had warned people to stay away from this area because the fumes can be very toxic, given that this is a lithium-ion battery. But Gio, we're going on now, and you saw law enforcement and those officers trying to take a seat and take a break for a second.
Yeah.
Because we're going on at least
15
10 hours, if not more, of
15
officers actively facing off.
Yeah,
with people down there.
and
you can see my eyes. I'm tired, but I'm gonna keep on going.
Fortunately, died down a bit over the course of those hours, but it was very, very high considering how many people
This
were
is something out
surrounding
of a
them
Hollywood
and surrounding
movie.
the area earlier in the afternoon, and that was the mix of those who were there to peacefully protest, and that's just regular crowd control you have to be wary of and keep an eye on.
All right,
in
so we're going to
addition
switch
to
because they're not really
those
showing
who were out
crowds
there
right now.
to
They're not really
provoke
showing
a
the crowds.
I don't really
I
like
do want to see
committing
what they're doing with the
I'm scared.
crowd
But when
dispersion.
Verizon announced that I could lock in a low
Seeing the
price for
size of
3
them,
years,
seeing
I
if
mean,
there's
yeah,
still fireworks
that's
or
what I'm
fires
talking
being
about.
made, So, and
Can
the
you hear me
National
now?
Guard should be coming out.
That is the order that has been given, and these officers are
They
making
ended
sure that they do it as quickly and
Why did ABC
cleanly as possible.
Okay, so
but
apparently
one
they ended the
I
stream.
do is spraying up the walls.
This is a really
here are all the
popular
cops.
streamer here.
They're pushing everybody down from here.
He's mostly streaming LA fires and stuff, but he's a really good help here. Because we can see this on the ground. We can see this on the ground. So yeah, that's where City Hall is. Well, no, that's where the federal building is. Yeah, that's where that federal building is to his left. But we're not going to use his footage. What is this? APT. What is this? Further live coverage. Okay. Most of the news channels are offline for some reason. Associated Press. Okay, so most of the news channels, the official news channels, are offline.
Nothing until we win.
Look at
so
this.
if you're in an accident,
most of them
call
are
Sweet James
offline.
today.
So I guess we have to go to unofficial sources now. Times News here. Wow. Hold on. So every single official news coverage that I clicked on.
Hello.
The Independent. Okay, so apparently every single news network that's broadcasting these events, I believe has just went offline. I'm not sure. The Independent here, Sky News.
How much should good car insurance cost you a month? $80? $120?
Hold on, let's see.
Nope.
Okay, that's just a regular. What is that? This is okay. So we're gonna have to go unofficial sources.
1829 watch 2, 1829 watch 2, coming.
This is Jeremy Reed. This is Jeremy Reed here. LAOC TV. I hate that I have to use his footage here. Hold on, let me try before I even resort to doing this. Because, okay. Alright, let's see. Fox 26 Houston. Okay, there we go. There's no audio, but it's fine. At least we know, we're gonna know what's going on with the crowds here. What's going on with the crowds? Okay, there is audio. It's just the helicopter though. I guess we can get our own commentary going here. Let's see. So there's some cars trying to be nosy there. Trying to be nosy. Cars keep trying to be nosy. Trying to get past the scrimmage. They can't. They keep being nosy. And it's sad. It's sad. Dang, it's a bit too quiet. Hold on. It's a bit too quiet. Alright, so we got a regular flow of traffic going towards City Hall over there. Oh, we got another fire started over here. This is in Chinatown, as you can see from the structure there. This is in Chinatown. Seems to be a pretty large fire there. What is that? Looks like a dumpster. Yeah, it looks like a dumpster fire there. Most of the official news networks have went offline because I believe it's 12 o'clock. So for now, we are on our own commentary here, observing what's going on here in LA. And he's throwing us probably $100 scooter up in there to fuel the fire. Wow. This is crazy. Hold on, the stream's laggy. Stream's laggy. Hold on. Let's see if that works. Because it's really laggy right now. You guys can hear me. Audio's synced, but my video's not synced. I don't know why it's laggy. Let's see. What's going on? Okay, hold on. Is it synced or is it synced? Let's go back to KCal. See if that's back online.
Tired of scrolling, browsing, ignored messages, and dull dates? What if you look from a wider perspective?
The camera's back on. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, this is just gonna stay in here. Is this the only footage we can get at the moment?
Overpass of the 101. And I should note that the southbound lanes of 101 remain closed. We did see some crews down there cleaning up all of that debris that people had thrown on the sides, the scooters and the concrete and signs.
I don't think they know about the fire yet, though.
You would see it reopened. It's not reopened, and I'm thinking now that that might be because they do not want people getting off the ramps and heading into the city. As I mentioned before, they really have lines of police officers or law enforcement blocking anyone from getting into the city, so perhaps they're trying to do that with cars as well. If we swing around,
I'm glad that they're controlling the advancement of this unrest.
over in Chinatown, that's where they pushed the crowds earlier today, and even from where we stand, we can hear the bangs going off. We've seen with our own eyes and heard as police, law enforcement went down that way, we could see them utilizing flashbangs to kind of push the crowd along. We can, in the distance, we can still hear those bangs happening, which is unfortunate, as you mentioned, that damage that is occurring there. That's what I was fearful of as those crowds headed in that direction. I should note, through Alvera Street, in that main thoroughfare where all of the shops and restaurants are, that area was mostly left intact. It was not damaged. It's on the exterior streets along outside of that main little village area. That's where a lot of the damage did occur, a lot of graffiti tagging.
Oh yeah, especially over a lot of street damage over by that Chevrolet. Actually, yeah, where they are right now. But no, not where they are. It's about Imagine you're right now in LA and you're trying to sleep and you just hear a
significant cleanup and substantial cleanup could begin. Again, remind me to take a look at the line of law enforcement that is kind of the first line of defense before people come into downtown Los Angeles. They do not want any crowds that start to gather en masse and reassemble and head this way. They're not going to let them get into downtown Los Angeles towards the City Hall area, that is towards the federal buildings, towards the detention centers. That's where there was so much damage over the last couple of nights. We're not going to let that happen again. They really fortified things and really blocked things right here at the overpasses. Guys, back to you.
Thank you so much.
We want to get to
so we got a new fire out there.
Tonight. It has been quite the chaotic night in downtown LA with people in this situation lighting a small fire here. You can see it's a large group that surrounded these flames. People circled around what appeared to be street signs that were on fire. That is what they lit on fire in this area. And moments before the fire, you had this situation.
Oh yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. Look.
Cocktail and mounted units spooked the horses a bit there, and officers then moved in on the crowd because they kept throwing fireworks. At one point, you noticed there lighting a tree on fire. That was quickly put out, fortunately.
And Mike, we saw someone get arrested in that situation, correct? 2 people.
Oh yeah, I saw this earlier.
And you can see here, rocks being
They were
thrown
tearing them
at
cars up.
LAPD
Oh yeah, it was Cesar E. Chavez. That's where a lot of the damage was. By that Chevrolet on the right
just
there.
pelting these vehicles.
Your whiteboarding app is boxing you in. Step beyond the
A lot of
ideation
damage was
phase.
done there. They were going in and getting snacks for this little party they're having. Oh, yep, the Chevrolet on that left there. They're going in and they're stealing stuff.
Law enforcement vehicles made their way down a street and maybe
They still wait. This was earlier. This was earlier. Yeah.
Right, and not the only time.
So yeah, that's when that dude came out with all them snacks.
And destroying CHP patrol vehicles.
And they having fun out there.
Arguably of the day, throwing.
That was earlier. They were throwing fireworks down there. Incendiary
concrete blocks.
Was that a cop? Oh yeah, he threw some tear gas out.
And you see officers there throwing.
See, these people, they plan this. Oh, he threw it back. He threw it back.
Notice how they had.
You see, what I was about to say was these people came prepared. They knew that there was going to be tear gas. They knew the threat.
In some cases, some really close calls.
Yeah, and at one point, leaf blowers were used when, officers deployed tear gas there. People setting CHP.
They doing whatever they can to damage stuff.
LAPD police chief who told us that they were seeing some of these people might come in with backpacks.
This was earlier.
With large, possibly
concrete
in them and hammers that they would chip up.
They were trying to be MC Hammer.
Those pieces up and throw at officers or their vehicles.
The professional kind of protesters that were coming in here and doing some of this stuff. The ones that showed up with leaf blowers, the ones that showed up with hammers, the ones that
they're basically saying the same thing I'm saying. They know what they're doing. They planned this because you see they have gas masks. They knew there was going to be tear gas.
Those are CHP officers
non-lethal
from just
weapons.
underneath the overpass because anytime they got too close in, there you go, right there. Then he would have to step away because fireworks would be let off, along with a number of other items being thrown their way.
At one point, you saw one of those CHP officers use pepper spray, use their pepper spray to help put it out, as well as a fire extinguisher. And luckily, they were able to control those flames.
And then a big piece of trash fell.
Hours later, we saw them tow those CHP vehicles out of there.
Yeah, I think this is, there was a lot of very scary and tense moments tonight. I think this is one of the ones for, at least for law enforcement, where they were kind of in the
and then they're just looking down there. They're just looking down there.
Dangerous situation. I mean, they just had those protesters right on top of them, throwing anything they could at them.
Yeah, and you can
they
see
and then they threw a really big piece of trash down there on fire. And it really messed that car up.
Just how many pieces of concrete.
It's better. Okay, it's not on replay. It's showing earlier events though.
Across the 101 freeway there.
Where are they getting all these scooters?
That's a good point, Mike. And
where are they getting all these scooters and the bikes and stuff?
There would be protesters up top and lighting either kindling cardboard on fire and then tossing it down.
See, yep, that's what I was just talking about. It was a really big piece of fire earlier. This was earlier though.
Yeah,
this is not now.
A dangerous situation. At one point, even a CHP officer decided to try to walk out, and they were just pelted with those objects as well. And again, you're seeing that street.
Okay, yeah, so they're showing earlier footage. This is not now.
Out from where it was standing and toss it over. The moment they're using some, what we believe is possibly smoke.
Bro, this dude threw it back out there. He knew what he was doing.
So bold, they pick it up with their bare hands and throw it right back.
And even before that, when they were on the on-ramp and then on
they love tasting the tear gas. The cops love tasting the tear gas.
Right?
They tasted all of
it. Between officers and between protesters, the officers would throw it their way, and then they would throw it back, and then they would kick it their way, and then protesters would kick it back towards CHP and other law enforcement, and it just became a prolonged back and forth to try and get control of that crowd before eventually CHP did manage to push the crowd off of the freeway back onto the on-ramp and then beyond the on-ramp back onto the main streets there.
Yeah.
All right, can we go to current events now? This was earlier.
To our downtown area. Again, as Mike mentioned,
this was earlier. Okay, there. Wait.
Still not open at this hour. And you wonder when they will reopen.
Come on, stop showing earlier events, man.
And this is a situation.
That's why we follow the facts.
I hate it when they do that. When there's we got Skycam. What is this? 26 Houston. What is 26 Houston doing out there in LA? Houston is trying to get some of that action or what? Or is this Houston? What is 26 Houston doing out there?
Yeah, I got hit last night. I'm okay. I think I'm okay still. Well,
They
I'll let the
not-
doctor tell me when I go.
Come on.
But,
And to clean up.
Yeah, earlier tonight we did speak
Bro,
to
why they
Sheriff
still doing
Robert.
earlier
Take a
events?
listen to what he told us.
What you're going to be seeing in the next, shouldn't be too long from now, you're going to see a lot of law enforcement officers, deputy sheriff, officers of LAPD. We have additional CHP officers coming in as well. So I'm going to send this very strong message. Earlier today, there were some really good people.
Okay, it's a bit more. It's still earlier, but it's a bit more recent.
Acting unlawfully, which meant they were attacking police officers, deputy sheriffs, and causing a lot of destruction.
It's a bit more
If you
recent.
are out here and that's what you're doing, there's a high likelihood you are going to jail. We are here until we bring calm back to downtown Los Angeles.
And it wasn't just patrol vehicles that were destroyed. In
All right, so
fact,
they're
several
basically
Waymos
summarizing what happened
were called into
earlier.
the area, ordered on the app, tagged, trashed, and then set on fire. You notice some of the explosions there. I mean, it was such a chaotic scene because it wasn't just one Waymo. It was 5, if not 6 guys that we counted when when we were down there and keeping an eye on it.
5. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that shot right there. So I think it ended up being 5.
Oh, okay, so 5 Waymos at this
Are they
point,
talking in past tense?
that went up, rather quickly. The situation just escalated so quick. Our Lori Bear has alerted us, hey, someone called all these down. They then got vandalized. We saw people shattering the windshield, shattering the doors, getting them open, and then all of a sudden,
Okay, yeah, they're talking in past tense. I don't know why they're not using current footage. Like,
Yeah,
why
and
the
it
heck
took,
are you not
it
using
took
current
fire
footage?
engines a while to get down there, right? Because it was such a chaotic scene.
I need to
and
know
you had,
what's going on
so
with
many
those
other
crowds.
logistical problems to be.
I want eyes on those crowds.
yeah.
I don't really like using other people's streams for footage. Let's see. Absolutely not. We are not going on this stream. Is he playing Sims music? Absolutely not. Fox 7, Austin. No, I do not want to video. Okay, there we go.
We know that finding high-quality foods you can trust can be challenging.
Yeah,
That's why Go
the chat
Macro is
here.
making natural.
Why is all the live streams doing this? All the live streams are doing this. All the live streams, like the main news channels, Fox 7, Austin, Fox 7, Los Angeles, they're doing this right now. Like the studio just beep, cut out. So all it is right now on YouTube is pretty much earlier footage or people actually there in LA recording. All the... Really? This is not recent. This is not recent. All right, well, if we don't find another current live stream, I'm gonna end it here. If we don't find another current live stream, let's see. Let's see if we can find a NFL. No. So yeah, most of the news networks are for some reason going offline. Wow. Accidentally did that. Alright, there we go. Okay, so yeah, that was earlier. This one's down. I just want to see. This one's down. This one's down. What? Are you guys curious? What's going on? What is this? I got some aerial shots. This was earlier. So it's either earlier shots or the studio's down. And then it's just people actually there in LA recording. And then here in Vegas. What happened to the feeds? They just... This was earlier. That was earlier. I do not want that briefing again. We already showed that briefing on here. So, I'm not sure what happened. This was live feeds, but everything went offline. Everything went offline. You got the borders are right there. Everything went offline. Hold on. Yeah, so everybody pretty much, I believe, ended their streams. This was earlier. So since I do not have any legal footage, I'm going to end the stream here, and I will be back tomorrow whenever there's some new footage in. I'm gonna